order. Could you please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us pray. Precious Father, we invite you to this regular meeting and budget meeting, and Lord, we just need your guidance, your knowledge, and what we need to do to keep this town a great little small town and to do what's right for all the citizens of Nashville. Amen.
Amen.
Public comment. Public comment.
Chris Handy, 720 South Line Street, Bill Right Supply. Talking with Sean and come up about some things that maybe we need to revisit the sign ordinances, stuff as restricting some businesses being able to attract business. And thought I'd just like for us to look at that and encourage do things that we're not got the news office by the face, because there's some things in there that's get some attention that's deterring business. And we don't want to be known as we've already got the image of a not business-minded community. So anyway, let us please take and revisit that and see what we can do about that.
Thank you. Reports, special presentations. Hey,
Yeah, Thomas.
Thomas is here. Yay. Hey, Thomas. You can sit, stand, wherever you're comfortable. We're family.
And I think you all have his presentation behind the agenda.
So, at the last meeting, Councilman Taylor asked me to provide a report on anticipation of the revenue that we brought in for Glover Park in Nashville. So, in the PowerPoint presentation, pretty much the first slide is going to show you the number of participants that we've had in 2025. So this report is just for 2025. Nash County, we provided programming for 3,332 athletes in 2025. Of the 3,323, there were 1,296 participants that signed up to participate at locations offered in Nashville. So while reviewing the numbers, youth soccer is the biggest program in the county with 1,223 participants. However, youth basketball is the most popular amongst Nashville signups. We had 371 participants.
Make sure I understand this. The total participants is the total count.
The total county.
Okay, all right, thank you.
The total county. And so we had 371 participants sign up for summer and winter basketball in 2025. Coming in second was youth baseball, softball, and t-ball, which had the second most participants with 265, and flag football was right behind with 264 participants. So I tried to break it out on the chart. If you look to the right column, that's 3,323 participants for youth athletics for the county as a whole. And then, as I mentioned, 1,296 for Nashville. So any questions before we move to the next slide? So we tried to break it down. So some of the sports, like some of the data, if you look at volleyball, it says 55 participants. Our staff, we went back and saw all of those are Nashville residents.
Yeah,
55 participants in volleyball. So for like baseball, softball, and t-ball, they had Nashville addresses.
Okay.
They had Nashville addresses. So we tried to break it out and divide it out like that. Yeah. Any other questions? All right, moving on to slide 3. This just looks at the adult athletic participation, and these numbers kind of skewed a little bit because the adult sports we play, majority of the adult sports are played at Nash Central Middle School, Nashville Elementary, in the gym or on the baseball field, or at Glover Park for the adult flag football on the baseball field. So some of these, they may not be Nashville residents, but majority of the program is in Nashville locations, if that makes any sense. So Our biggest adult program last year was adult basketball. It's always big to those guys. We had 294 participants playing adult basketball between Nash Central and Nashville Elementary. And the next largest was flag football, which was played at Glover Park. Our adult sports, they continue to grow. This upcoming summer, we have 21 adult basketball teams. So,
That's good.
yeah, so it's continuing to grow, and Nashville is our, home hub for that. So we play at Nash Central Middle School, Nashville Elementary, and it's an all-day event. We play on Sundays, so it's all day on Sundays. Any other questions on the adult athletic participation? All right. Moving on to the next slide.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna go back to the last slide.
Okay.
So, on this soccer for 1223 total participants, does that include like Red Oak Park and Middlesex and, okay, all right, make sure I'm thinking.
Yeah, so you're looking on the first slide, 1223, that's every park, Miracle Park, Glover Park,
Okay.
Bailey. And of those 1223, 228 signed up just to play at Glover Park. Yeah. Although on Saturday, they may play at Miracle, they may play at Red Oak, but on the practices is at Nashville.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. All right, so revenue collected. This next slide covers the revenue collected. As for revenue generated for the youth sports, if you look at it, we collected a total of $52,900 for the various youth sports offered based off the number of participants that signed up for Nashville. Youth basketball was the top revenue generator with $14,840, followed by flag football with $10,710. And this don't show the expenses. We just show the revenue brought in. It don't show the expenses that we have for the jerseys, for the umpires, for the officials, for our staff. This just is the revenue generated from the program.
We just wanted a ballpark number anyway, just to have an idea.
Okay.
That's what I wanted, just to have an idea of how much was coming in.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Any?
If you could, I would like to know how much
We spend?
expense you got
Okay.
to come from this stuff, because it may wash itself out.
It's definitely gonna wash itself out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I will get my staff and I will get together and we'll send that to you via email within the next week. So about the expenses on each program, whether it's youth or adults. Yeah. All right, moving on to slide 5, which is we're going to talk about the revenue collected for the adult sports. The total revenue collected for the adult sports was $30,790, and this was just for the predominantly Nashville-based locations. I didn't include in indoor soccer because we play at Cooper's for indoor soccer. So that number, that $30,790, is just for the adult athletes that are predominantly in Nashville. And as I mentioned, we have 21 basketball teams this upcoming summer. Of course, basketball will be the top revenue generator. Last year as well, we had $15,170 generated just from adult basketball. Yeah, so those guys, they really enjoy playing basketball on Saturdays. They look forward to it. It'd be a crowd in Nashville and Nash Central on Saturdays. Excuse me, Sundays. All right. Moving on to slide 6. This next slide, I try to break it down to where how many games were at the different locations throughout Nashville. So we had a total of 1,663 games played at all the various locations throughout the county. That's Red Oak, that's Bailey, that's Cooper's, and Nashville. Of that 1,663, 734 were played at the facilities within the town limits. And that's Nashville Elementary, Nash Central, J.W. Glover Park. That's 44.14% of the games played at the locations here within the town. So I think that's a great number. So almost half of the games that we play are in town limits. Any questions on the location?
Is that Nash Central Middle School?
Nash Central
Okay.
Middle School. So we do a lot at Nash Central Middle School for basketball and volleyball. And I tried to break it down on the chart by how many games we're at Nashville Elementary Field, Nash Central Gym, Nashville Gym, then add it up to the total games in Nashville. We play a lot at Glover Park. We had 372 games at Glover Park last year.
What did you have going on this past weekend?
We had
I
a-
know about 11 o'clock,
We had a tournament.
Sunday morning, and cars were parked on both sides of 58 hours.
We had
You
the
couldn't get parked.
we had the World Series softball tournament this past weekend. Yeah, so we had teams coming from different parts of North Carolina and Virginia. So it was Saturday and Sunday. We didn't play that Saturday because of the ribbon cutting.
Right.
So we played at Miracle on Saturday, but they prefer to play at Glover Park. More than Red Oak, more than Miracle Park. They want to play at Glover. All the tournaments that we host, they want to get Glover. They want to get Glover. I think one of the things that holding Glover back, we need to get lights on those two additional baseball, those two fields, 3 and 4. We need lights bad. If not, once time change, they're going to go to Red Oak. They're going to go to Miracle Park because we have lights at those locations. We just got lights at Miracle Park, so that's going to make that park,
To pay for their lines.
at Miracle. That's paid for the county. The county paid for the lights. Yeah, we didn't get no grant for the lights. The county paid.
Don't we have it scheduled to put lights on those fields?
So 3 and 4?
Glover Park.
Not to my knowledge. Corey, you can answer that question.
That was not included in what we discussed.
No, no, sir, it was, one of our budget requests was a number to add lights to those fields. One of the things that Thomas had brought for a maintenance item this year was replacing a lot of the lights on the existing
Yeah.
field.
On the
And
existing,
that had been, completed just recently,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
so we still need some.
Yeah, fields 3 and 4. And not just for the tournaments, but for our residents and participants that are here in Nashville. Because, as I mentioned, once time changes, it's kind of a challenge for those teams to practice, especially during the fall. Definitely. So we don't want to lose those participants to Red Oak or to the Miracle Park. We want to keep those participants playing at their home location for practices here in Nashville. So it'll benefit both the town residents and the tournaments aspect as well. All right, now that we have discussed the number of participants and revenue generated from the youth and adult athletic programs, we'll move on to discuss the tournaments hosted, which we mentioned briefly at Glover Park, and its economic impact. So what is economic impact? The economic impact is the total amount of new money that flows into the local economy because of an event, activity, tournament, etc. This can measure how much local businesses, restaurants, hotels, gas stations, and stores benefit when visitors and participants spend their money here in Nashville.
You can crack potatoes. Potatoes can do that.
All right, so next slide, slide 8. This covers the different factors that influence economic impact in a city or a town. The first factor is direct spending. Direct spending looks at money spent by visitors. We're going to scratch hotels on money spent on food, gas, shopping, etc. Then the next factor, another factor, is indirect spending. This is where local businesses then spend some of the money with other local suppliers and employees here in Nashville. And the final factor is induced spending, which is employees spending their money at other local businesses. Together, these create a multiplier effect, which $1 can generate more than $1 of total economic benefit for the town. So we'll move on to this next slide, and we'll look at how many tournaments we hosted in 2025. And I've got some help from Barbara Green with Travel and Tourism with the numbers that I'm going to present to you here shortly. In 2025, we hosted 8 youth baseball and softball tournaments just at Glover Park alone. Those 8 tournaments brought in 139 teams from different parts of North Carolina and Virginia. As I mentioned, Barbara helped us with estimated economic impact from the 8 tournaments based on the formula that she has on the profile of the NC visitor. Economic impact is based on the following, which she looked at 25 people per youth sports team. That included 12 players, which is the going number for the number of players on the team, 2 coaches per team and staff, and 11 parents, siblings, and other spectators. That's how we got that 25 people per team number. So if you go to your next slide in your packet.
Guys, can I just stop you for 1 second.
Uh-huh.
So in the first bunch of slides, we were talking about the rec teams that you put forth. Now we're talking about the travel teams that you
Correct.
all pull in.
Correct.
Okay. So for the first one, when it talked about revenues generated, that was just from rec?
That was just rec.
Okay,
Yep.
and then,
That was
We
just
got-
fees, right?
Yeah.
right, okay. And
Once we
now we're
started talking
switching
about the
gears
Easter month.
to, okay.
Estimated economic impact, we're switching to the out-of-town visitors.
So we're
coming
not
to
even
the town.
including in the economic impact, the weekend games and practices that we're bringing in for the rec
No,
leagues?
it's
Okay.
just the tournaments that we
Okay,
hosted last year.
thank you.
All right. So this next slide, Barbara provided me with a chart with 3 different scenarios. Scenario 1, which is, she looked at 7% of those 139 teams staying overnight. So day trip teams was 129, overnight teams was 10 teams in scenario 1. Scenario 2 had 5% staying overnight, which is 132 teams just doing day trips, and then 7 overnight teams. And scenario 3 was 3% overnight, with only 4 teams staying overnight and 135 doing day trip. If you look at scenario 1, the 7%, that generated the highest economic impact at $625,075 as economic impact. However, even the most conservative scenario at the 3% overnight still produced 1.54 million in total economic impact. So you can see the benefit of hosting these tournaments at Glover Park, with these teams coming in from the different parts of North Carolina, different parts of Virginia. And if you look at it, the day trip teams provide the majority of the impact across all different scenarios, while if a team did stay overnight, you can see how it was, it boosts the economic impact.
What this tells me is we need to build a hotel.
Because that money's going to Rocky Mountain, not going to us.
You don't want this.
Yeah. So I know some members of the council would like to see those numbers from the economic impact from the tournament. So I felt I should provide y'all with those numbers as well, and make y'all aware that if we do get lights at Glover Park on those 2 additional fields, that it could assist with, stimulating the economy here in Nashville, and it'll definitely benefit the town residents as well. Any other questions before we move on to the next slide?
Maybe someone's listening that would like to donate those lights. That would be nice.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So the final slide, as I mentioned, just why this matters for Nashville. My team and I, we enjoy hosting tournaments and events for the community. By hosting events, we think that we're doing a great job assisting with boosting the economy here in Nashville. By hosting these tournaments, you're fine. By hosting these tournaments, the economic impact, it can show the broader value of hosting sports tournaments beyond just participation and revenue. And also, every overnight visitor spends significantly more than a day trip. So if we get those lights, if we get a hotel, it'll definitely assist with boosting the economy. And that concludes my presentation. I'd be willing to answer any questions that y'all may have.
I just have one quick question. So we went over the revenue that the rec leagues bring in. Did you go over the revenue that the travel brings in? I don't know if it's a big revenue generator, or you all just do it for the economic impact?
We just do it for the economic impact. So if we had, I can do that math real quick in my head. So they pay $300 per field,
Okay.
per day. So if they rent all 4 baseball fields, that's $1,200 brought in as revenue for field rental
For the one weekend?
for the one weekend, because most of the tournaments are softball tournaments, which is one day. If we take that 1,200 and we multiply that by 8, I ain't the best mathematician, but it's what, 9,600 if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so 9,600 revenue brought in for the field rental.
Okay.
Yeah, just for field rental.
How many people do you have on staff at this time?
We have a total of 10 full-time employees, including myself. That's maintenance and athletics. 10 full-time employees, and we have a host of part-time employees that I call them, we can't do it without them. They're frontline communication at a lot of these events, because we can't be in 2 places at one time. We have our full-time staff, we have one person in charge of just soccer for the county, one person is in charge of baseball. But you know, we play at different locations. We use baseball, for example. Josh is in charge of baseball, but on a given night, we may have Glover, Bailey, Miracle, Spring Hope, all these locations going. So he can't be in 5 places at one time. So we depend on our site supervisors, and they're very, very instrumental to our team. So we have probably about 60 part-time staff. Yeah. You're welcome.
We appreciate it so very much.
All right. Any other questions?
How much your lights?
Yeah, Thomas, is there any possibility of you using light towers temporarily on those fields?
We'll probably pay more, end up paying more in the long run. For what was the quote for the lights on
The
those
last
three
quote
fields?
we received was right at 400,000 for life for the 2 ball fields and the soccer.
Yeah.
Which is actually down from a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
The last time I got it quoted, it was close to 525, I believe.
Yeah.
Back in my day, we used headlights.
Yeah.
Larry, you probably can.
Yeah. Any other questions for the
Bus came out
council
right.
or
Bus came out.
management? Well, y'all have a good day.
Appreciate it.
Maybe somebody listening will bring them up here to Nashville. That would be really nice.
I was kidding, Larry.
I missed it, what happened?
You were talking about license plate, and Randy said, well, what I played, they probably the county.
Did he say that? Randy, I am disappointed. Okay, next, now we're moving to our work session, our budget review. Okay, Randy?
Well, I just wanted to give you a quick overview, summary of the proposed budget that we've been talking about at the last meeting, last Wednesday, and we're going to continue talking about today. So Treston put this together for us. Well, what it shows in the first column is how we project we're going to begin our fiscal year with fund balances. So for the general fund, we're projecting to begin with $6.1 million in fund balance. The MSD, which is our municipal service district, we're looking at beginning with $218,000. Water and sewer fund, $8.5 million. Stormwater, $269,000. Powell bill, $490,000. And then the drug teacher money, which we really can't spend, PD spend, is $99,682. The next column then shows the income that we project for the FY27 budget. And these are a little different than what you'll see in the spreadsheet, because the spreadsheet have what we're transferring in from fund balance to do one-time projects, so it's just slightly different. So the income is $9.5 million for the general fund, $49,900 for the MSD, water and sewer, $5.9 million. Stormwater, $155,000. Powell, $215,000. And then on the expense side, the general fund at $10 million and some change. MSD at $79,900. The water and sewer at $6.4 million. The vehicle capital, nothing there, I'm sorry. Stormwater, $246,000, and then Powell, $555,000. So the next column then shows the appropriated fund balance. This is how much money we have in the bank that we're going to pull out of the bank and spend in this proposed budget. So for the general fund, it's $416,500. And as we go through the detailed budget, anything highlighted in red is what we're considering a one-time purchase, which, it makes sense to use fund balance for that because it's not a reoccurring or ongoing expense every year. And then for water and sewer, one-time purchases of $491,000, and stormwater $91,580, And then on the Powell, 340,000. And stormwater, that's for our Body Street storm sewer intake project, to put those intakes in a few spots to help drainage. And then on the Powell, that would be overlaying Cross Street from Barnes to 58, Highway 58 or First Street. That's what we redid a couple of years ago in front of Grasswell. And we did curb and gutter and drainage improvements, and then we overlaid the whole thing in front of Grasswell Milling and across the street. It also includes hopefully enough money to overlay Essex Road when we get finished putting the sewer system in the Essex subdivision, which is under construction as we speak.
Hallelujah.
So that is the overview.
Okay, the income for the water and stormwater, is that based on what percentage of increase?
We really didn't increase stormwater revenues. We get
Just
about,
confused, how is that number the same as this?
So this is not an increase.
no increase in stormwater fee. How we're at the mercy of the state.
I have a quick question. So the projected ending fund balance,
Oh, yeah, I forgot that.
how is that ending fund balance the same number as the beginning fund
No,
balance?
that was my question.
If we're taking out 416, transferring in 192, we still have a deficit.
Well, it should be the difference between those.
Right.
But isn't the water and stormwater income based on fees, right? We're
Yeah,
charging the citizens.
absolutely.
The stormwater.
So you're using the same numbers as last year, or you increased the percentage?
No, we didn't increase the whole fee, it's only 50%.
We're only doing water and sewer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no increase in the fee. The revenue for.
So the sewer and water on 30, that number is based on,
An increase, a proposed increase of 15.
okay, that's what I was asking.
Yeah,
Okay, that's what I
on
was-
water and sewer,
yeah,
not,
that's what I was trying to get to.
okay.
Okay, thank you.
Do you know that we need to put this, if that is the number, move the start.
Mhm.
This person basically said move the start at 65, and what we're gonna do in another year, so it doesn't account for any other budget amendments. I'll probably have to add another column in there for, because basically this is where we started, this,
Yeah,
it is a formula.
we can put a formula in there to calculate that correctly, so.
Okay.
Just,
Okay.
Okay.
But basically, says, well, it's subtracting the 416,500, which that number could change, if we, this number is based off numbers that I knew yesterday.
Mhm.
Generally, that number could change, but
Sure.
I'll keep it updated.
So
Yeah,
the-
just to have the math accurate for the day one, I understand it's gonna change. But I would assume it would be the 416 minus the 192.
yes.
I just need to change.
Okay.
So last column's gonna be less the,
Right.
Yes, 416,500.
And then adding back.
And then we had the same thing for,
The power bill, well, that,
I drove the formula down, so I said.
Well, water and sewer's got the same mistake on it.
yeah, water and sewer
Yeah.
has the same thing where it's the same number.
well, it's probably with all of them.
Yeah, I drove the formula down, so it's not a big.
Okay. Now, that's a large fund balance for water sewer. What kind of projects can we be doing with that?
Well, Jason's got proposed in the water and sewer that we're gonna do some projects. Jason, you want to summarize those? Some questions here?
So in the rate study,
Step up. Yeah, he's gonna direct you to the UNC rate study.
So currently we have $8.5 million in the enterprise.
In the enterprise, when we started with 10, and it will start out the year with 8.5, because we have a couple of budget amendments some have happened because we have some accounts that are in the negative for our cost of niche.
In Red Oak Road.
In Red Oak Road. So what we are gonna get is, the insurance will reimburse us next year, but we can't count on that.
Right.
So it is gonna drop the fund out down this year, but
Shirts for the valves.
These fund balance are accurate as of today, we don't just print.
Because they have done the transfer and
Yeah,
pay
yeah.
for those things, that's why it's.
Yeah, the fund balance is, we're gonna start the year with 8.5 million in enterprise for water and sewer fund balance. And we're only proposing to use 491 of that. So if we had the formula right in the very last column, it would tell you approximately what we project to end the fiscal year 27 with. If you're good at doing math in your head quick, the 8.5 million minus the 491 would give you the difference. Unless, of course, projects come along during the year that we talked about, the council approves to do. One of those such projects we don't have in the budget is the Regency lift station abandonment project. We got $953,000 of grant money from Congressman Don Davis for that project. I have RFQs out right now for the engineering on that. They're due on Friday. Then we'll select an engineer and get started with that project. Every month that goes by, I'm afraid that project has gotten a little more expensive. And it's somewhat technical because we're going to have the directional bore under the 64 and the Red Oak Road to get past the new medical clinic down to our fallout line. But it's a very doable project. Gravity flows nicely and we'll be able to get rid of that lift station. But we're probably going to have to contribute some more than just that grant to complete that project, and we would take that out of fund balance. The other thing Jason, I guess, is going to talk about the capital improvements that were in the UNC.
It's
grant study.
about halfway through. There's a place that'll say capital improvements, and that will kind of list a 5-year outlook of some things we would like to do.
That was like 8 million, wasn't it?
20.
It's right after 22, it doesn't have a number on it.
23. Yeah, I should say. So if you look at that, and I've got it broke down a little bit more granular on my end, but in year 27, emergency valve replacement, engineering, expansion to the water and sewer office, 2-inch main replacement, pump station upgrades, well house maintenance. And then we can break down into FY28, $2.8 million, and again, that is land, the tank, telemetry, and engineering for a new water tower. I think me and Bill talked about it, kind of going towards the Nash Central Middle School area of the town to do our triangle. And then FY28 and 29, that's that. Again, jet combo truck. So our jet combo vac truck is going to be getting old and need to be replaced. That's going to be a big expense. A new dump truck, and again, 2-inch line replacement for our 2-inch galvanized pipe. And then we can project out from there. We won't be able to do all of our 2-inch line replacement and all of our AC line replacement. We'll have to break those out in multiple years to be able to get it done. And this is just the tip of the iceberg as far as projects goes. There's going to be other things that come up that we'll have to, budget. And there might be something that comes up that takes precedence over a 2-inch line replacement or a back truck. But we're ever evolving when it comes to the water and sewer infrastructure.
And this is just a 5-year capital improvement plan. I don't know if you guys remember when Mike Tolson did our asset inventory assessment, and he came up with a 10-year capital improvement plan, and it had $22 million of improvements. And I thought we had one council member who might have thought for sure heard that number, but infrastructure ages, and it's on the ground, out of sight, out of mind, and we really don't think about it
until it
we're gonna
breaks.
have problems.
So are the 26, 27 that you just went over on capital improvements, is that included in here?
So in my 2026 budget now, our backup sewer pumps, pump station upgrades, and bypass pump are all in the current budget as it sits right now. There's a little bit of money for GIS mapping. Talked with Mike Tolson and his group, so we can spend a little bit of money for that. But all the other items are in the budget as it sits right now. So those are already planned, and then we'll look at FY27 next year. But 28. But if we want to move it up, you know, we can move up any of these projects and make them, you know, this
I
budget
just,
year.
you know, we see that it's aging, we see that we need to be fixing things. I don't want to just keep squirreling away, like we need to be
Right.
fixing and spending.
And scoring away.
And squirreling away, yes, because we obviously have long-term plans for this.
And the situation is, ever since I've been here, and probably most of you, we've had to react.
Right.
I'd love to see us get to a point where we could be proactive.
Right.
And not
And-
just react every time
So
something
the
breaks or.
valve replacement and all of that is not in the current.
Some of that is,
Some of it, okay.
but not all of it.
So some of this is in the,
We do have a little bit of money in our water fund for valve replacements this year, but that's, again, just kind of the tip of the iceberg. We'll have to do it again.
And to get back to the lift and Jason also, we abandoned the lift station out of Essex Road some years ago.
With Cardinal Woods.
uh,
With Cardinal Woods
Cardinal
coming
Woods.
online, yes, sir.
Yeah, with the new sewer line going into Essex now, it ties into, where's Cardinal Woods lift station?
In the very back of Cardinal Woods,
Down in the bottom.
down on the very bottom. And all that gravity will flow to Cardinal
So
Woods.
all that from Essex Road is going to
Yes,
that,
sir.
back there?
Yes, sir.
All right.
So we're not
Does
adding
the
any
gravity
here.
flow to the main system to vacuum out, or is it pumped somewhere?
It pumps, so gravity, the new, what we're installing right now today will flow to Cardinal Woods. That'll be force main pumped to a gravity line that will flow all the way to Rocky Mountain.
Yeah, Cardinal Woods pumps up to Birchwood Drive, and then from Birchwood Drive, it flows gravity-wise all the way to Rocky Mountain.
It's not touched twice by a pump.
That was, well, it's not our fault.
Yeah, that's not our problem. Any other questions about CIP?
any other people have questions? Thanks, Jason.
Yes, ma'am.
Appreciate all you do.
Yes, thank you.
The water and sewer, the enterprise fund, it does have a nice fund balance. But I think as Jason pointed out, there are things we have proposed to do with that, and things on our 5-year CPI that we need to do with it, and even more things on the 10-year plan that we need to do with it. One of the things that Chief Joyner has brought up to us more than once is the need for another water tower. Not only for potable water, but also for fire protection. And a new water tower is likely going to cost around $4 million.
That'll need for another well.
Yeah.
Another well too.
I don't know if I mentioned this to you last Wednesday, but in the Harvest Creek subdivision, find it, Mark Sheeran is in the process of conveying ownership of this particular lot right here. And Jason mentioned that ARM, our well company, has given us a proposal that we've signed and sent back, that they're gonna go do geo review of that. And if it seems good, then we'll do a test drill. Well,
I pray it's good.
yeah,
But we need a well on the south side now, on the Nashville side. We need a well out that way somewhere.
yeah.
If we don't have any property,
Well, one of the thoughts I had, we have Fire Station 2, and that's 4.5 acres. If behind, maybe we could take a look at putting a well there. It's not too far away from a big main that goes down Oklahoma Road and loops in and around.
It sounds like the future tower and the future fire department would be in similar locations. Maybe we need to look at a combination lot for that too.
Yeah. Take a look at some. So, and the chief is more than willing to look at that. Yesterday, we were notified of an award from Congressman Don Davis of $800,000 for a new ladder truck. So our fire department, having had the frustration they've had with our current ladder truck for the last 2 years, they're not wasting any time. Chief, you want to give the council an update on what you were looking at as far as a replacement ladder truck?
You shopping already?
I'm just looking at what there is out there. We went to Selma and we went to Zeppelin and looked at 2 different style ladder trucks. I do know one thing we're gonna do, we're probably just gonna go with a single axle ladder truck instead of a dual. That'll cut down on some of that maintenance issues there. But there's some other things we're toying with right now, but we're just looking so we can try to control the cost of these trucks. Because that ladder truck's so expensive thing.
But likely
I got
it's
some-
twice as much as 800,000, right?
Yeah, it's probably gonna be somewhere around 1.6. So, but me and Mr. Lansing have talked about some different things with that too. So,
And I would, is 100 foot line.
ours is 100-foot line, yes, sir, with a platform. Yeah, that's what we're looking at, due to the fact of, when you look at convenience of some time down the road, a hotel, you don't want to cut yourself short if they want to go 4 stories or whatever they want to go. You still want to have the right angle for a rescue angle. So that's one reason why we're looking at 100 foot. So,
Yeah, and then the Grand Lakes at Brownsville and Purdue Feeds.
yeah.
I was
It'll probably be 107, 110 footers, whatever it'll be, somewhere along in there. Doesn't make a lot of
going to
difference.
ask, for the average citizen, how often does the ladder truck go out? What type of buildings do you use it for?
Oh, so now, Rocky Mount, City of Wilson, they deploy their ladder on every structure fire. Honest way we deploy is if we have volunteers, they can get there to get a truck. So that's something we're looking at. The safety grant just started yesterday, just come out, and I opened that up. That is where you can apply for personnel. They did change that this year when I read through it. You can apply for personnel, and normally it's 100% coverage for 3 years. This year they've changed it to 75%. Their cost 25% to the town or the city, and that's for 3 years the way that's set up. But you can get people. Ladder truck, I was just sitting back there working on numbers right then of looking at, that would probably be our best bet because of our growth, our school system, our prison system, our courthouse. That's probably where we need to say is we're going to staff a ladder truck. That way we would probably be more inclined to get funding than just saying we needed firefighters, which would be an engineer and a lieutenant on a ladder. So, I mean, I was sitting back there working on numbers right then on how we were doing this. So,
Well, with the SAFER grant then, we got the grant from the league to hire a grant writer, which we use for our stormwater, our hazard mitigation grant application. And that particular project is to rebuild the sewer outfall from Red Oak Road to Carriage Road. We're waiting to hear back on that. Hopefully by October, we'll know if we get funding for that. It was a $10 million application. There's some local match for that. So again, that water sewer fund balance will come in handy if we get that grant, then we can do that particular project. But we still have grant writing services available through us with that professional grant writer that the chief is going to reach out to for help on writing the SAFER grant.
yeah, I think when we did the one for the generator and the upgrades to the plumber vent system, I wrote that grant. But I think I need a little bit more help on the one for the personnel because there's something we're missing in that grant for asking for personnel. So we're looking at that. AFG also opened up to where I told the boss this morning, there's a lot of different things. We could either do our air packs on that, but we also asked that from Lisa and Lisa Barnes and Al Chester. So I also told him with price of turnout gear and that probably would not be a bad idea to look at doing turnout gear and an extra set for all the volunteers too out of that, because turnout gear right now is about $4,000 a set. So it could be something we could look at doing as a turnout gear for the AFG grant. I opened both of them this morning. They're due June 22nd is when it closes. So.
Thank you so much.
Well, again, just to summarize, Tressa's got them revised.
Okay.
Just going to show you real quick on your screen. So it looks like the general fund balance, with what we have proposed in the budget, will end the FY27 budget in the far right column of 5.5 million. Started out with 6.1, end with 5.5. And on the MSD, the second line there, spending some money there, we would end with a fund balance of 188,000. Again, not enough to do a streetscape project by any means, but, I think Sean and I expressed some real enthusiasm at the last meeting. The Downtown Strong Advisory Board members we have are very active in coming up with enhancement projects to improve the look of our MSD, our downtown. So then, water and sewer, this budget, we would end the FY '27, again in the far right column, at 7.5 million. Start out with 8.5, end with 7.5. And then the stormwater, that one dropped down to 86,000.
We're gonna email, we're gonna bring down a corrected copy.
Okay, good.
Okay.
And then, on Powell, we'll be spending that down to, we should end the, year at that one, with the 150,000. But again, the state really doesn't like us to sit on Powell money. They want you to spend what you get. And that's, for us, it's easier said than done. I mean, we don't get a tremendous amount of Powell money. So to do a big street project is always more than what we get. So in order to be able to do a fairly decent sized street project, we gotta save it up for a couple of years. Or put general fund money with it. And then, yeah, then that last item, the drug seizure money, we don't have anything proposed for that. Now, Chief Shockley may come up with something during the year to spend some of that money on, but, ending with what we began at 99,000. So. But back to the overall budget, just to summarize. So this budget is balanced as it's proposed. It does include a 2-cent tax increase to go from 59 cents to 61 cents per hundred. And we looked at that a little bit at the last meeting with what that means. So here we are right now at 59 cents. And these are our average value homes, or our range of value of homes, from 163,000 all the way up to $500,000. And that's what the 59-cent tax rate results in taxes. So on a $185,500 value house, which is about the average for Nashville, it's $1,094 currently in property taxes. If we take it to 60 cents, it's a $1,113. It's an $18.55 increase. If we go to 61 cents on that average house, it'd be $1,132 a year, or an additional $37.10 more per year over what is currently being paid. And I put 62 in there so you can see that. The 62-cent tax increase would increase the taxes for that home at $185,000 in value to $55.60 more per year. Now, one thing to note, each 1 cent increase in tax generates approximately $60,241 at our projected taxable value rate. And again, we are projecting some decent growth in that. 8.4% increase, or 51 million more taxable value than we have for the current year that we're in. And of course, all that growth is coming from the new homes that we have in the new subdivisions that are being built. So Cardinal Woods right now is at 72 homes.
Yeah.
They plan on being at 100 by October. They want to open Essex Road to the Cardinal Wood subdivision sometime in October.
Would they require 2 at 100?
They said they would do that at 100, and I think that's what the chief said they needed to do. Hopefully, our Essex Road sewer project will be finished by then, and we'll have Essex Road resurfaced, so it's all nice and new when those barricades come out.
If you said that includes like a 2% increase?
What you have before you has a 2% increase.
Well, let me ask you this, does that provide an adequate salary for our policemen and our firemen so we can keep our towns safe? That's my concern.
The wages that are proposed are covered with this increase in taxable value, so we will generate enough between, and again, our big revenues, I think as we reviewed last time, are our property taxes. And of course, our sales tax.
What page is that?
It's the very first page
Okay, gotcha.
of the revenues.
And where was the page that you just did for the tax rate increases?
Well, what we had last time, I believe it was stickled to the back.
That 8.51 increase in this new homes, do we have any idea how many that is? How many individual
Last time.
homes?
I don't, but we can come up with a,
That doesn't include any businesses either, right?
no, that's, well, that increase in taxable value, obviously, yeah, it does. It increase, you know, all of our major industries in town, all of
No,
our,
the 8.41 increase, in that tax income on line 6 is coming from projection of what?
well, mostly the additional houses, but also increases in commercial property that's taxed in Nashville too. So, I mean, you can't take that 51 million and divide it by 260 to get the number of homes, because it includes other taxable property in there.
Does 8.4 include the new medical, UNC medical, or is that?
That's not gonna be taxed.
Okay.
They're, they're,
Fortunate for them, unfortunate for us.
but Braswell's new distribution center here in town, it'll include that, most likely. We get something back in a Land and Hampshire Foods building,
Yeah.
which, you know, Nash County Economic Development has a strong project for that right now. Can't really give any details on that yet, but keep our fingers crossed, and it
How
sounds
about
like
the German company?
build labs, once they come and actually build something.
So,
But remember,
they're still on track, well, not on track, they're off track, but they're still interested in coming,
oh yeah, very much so.
they haven't backed out yet.
Yeah. But remember, we're going to be reimbursing some of their property taxes. That was part of our economic development. They paid full commercial value for the lot they bought from us. And then we agreed along with Nash County to rebate some of the property taxes back to them for the new jobs and the taxable value they're creating. So. But again, an overview of the budget. This includes that 2-cent tax increase. We also are looking at, as we talked about last time, a 15% increase in water and sewer rates. And, you know, that has some impact on the general fund because we're allowed by statute to take 4% of our water and sewer revenues and transfer those to the general fund to help cover general expenses that the general fund incurs with managing and operating an enterprise fund.
So, I mean, I'm not happy about the increase, but my biggest concern is going from 8.5 million to 7.5 million. That's a big number on the water and sewer fund. And I'm really concerned about that, especially when we're gonna spend $8 to $20 million over the next few years, and we're decreasing it instead of keeping it the same or increasing.
So what do you think? What would you do?
I'd like to put some more money into that, or take less money out of it.
You know, you put more money back in, that requires another.
I understand.
Right.
One cent taxes.
Or adjusting the budget.
We'll take something away from my head.
Yeah, what do you thought? You're talking enterprise fund, right? You'd like to put
Yeah,
more into the
we're
fund balance.
taking out $1 million in essence. I mean, 500,000 of it is just a check.
Make a recommendation, right?
Yeah, sure.
So, and, a little bit new here, but very familiar to the situation. So like we've been talking about, we haven't gone up on rates. So, we're proposing just to go up 15%. So, I mean, if we were to go up 17%, we could pull less money out of that. So, it's kind of one of the things, we're just matching Rocky Mount
That's what I
now.
was thinking.
We're not doing anything to better our infrastructure or be proactive. We're still kind of being reactive. We're gonna do what Rocky Mount did and go up and just cover the cost of paying them for the water and sewer, but we're not adding anything to infrastructure. So if
Well,
we
I'm
would
not comfortable raising a bunch more on the water and a bunch on the tax rate. I think we need to look at maybe coming off some of the budget items.
I don't think that's gonna be possible,
In order to
go ahead.
do our capital improvements, that fund balance does have to decrease. Like, we have to be taking money out in order to spend it in the areas that we need it. If your concern is that we're not putting money back in, then I think the only solution is to raise the rate by a percentage.
But this $1 million decrease doesn't include any projects, right?
It does.
It does. 491 projects.
Yeah, and those are your pump station upgrades, your bypass pump, some electrical upgrades, all in that capital improvement project.
So half is improvements and half is just because we don't have enough income.
Right.
Right.
Well, based on what we're going to end up this year for our business, how much money are we going to be able to put back into fund balance?
For the water sewer?
Taking some out.
Well, in all,
With this year's budget,
Oh.
we're going to end up at,
That's this year.
yeah, ballpark.
Well, these numbers I did yesterday.
We're coming under
so
budget,
the
right?
first column is kind of where we're at right now, but again, we have to think about
Gene.
June. So I'm comfortable with every meeting from now, or if y'all every week, I just hear what you're saying, but it's more to, when you're predicting a number, something that happened
Well, I know,
in
but based on
that first number.
the
is
trend that
really-
we've been leaving.
But $600,000
We're going
less
to come
fund
under a
balance.
little bit, right, to go back to.
well, we did budget amendments, mostly for big projects,
Right.
so, and those big projects, big fund
Yes,
balance.
taking that in.
So, I don't remember what we projected to end FY '26 with for fund balance. Have to look back, but
This is what we project as of yesterday.
as of yes, how did that compare to last year this time?
But see, last year we put money back into fund balance because it was like 4.7 and it went up to 5.2. So we, although we budgeted for it, we didn't spend.
We didn't spend it.
had more revenues and expenditures. So anyone that the department here did spend goes back into the fund balance.
So that's my question, what, do we anticipate putting anything back in this year?
Just got to wait till the end of June.
Well, I know that, but based on,
Give you an estimate, yeah, honestly, the general fund is going okay right now, enterprise fund did take a hit due to the cost connection.
right.
We had a
And
rate
with the
increase.
increases,
We've been eating those rate increases over the last
Absolutely.
2 years.
Well, and remember, Rocky Mount's rate increase takes effect June 1st. We're not proposing to do our rate increase until July 1st.
Right.
Can I say something on that? What we could actually address it. For example, our budget for vehicle maintenance was $66,000 last year. We're $14,000 in the negative due to the fact of these outrageous fees that we're being charged from mechanics for being fixing these trucks. Our people at the fire department have cut out going to trainings and doing things of that nature just so we can stay within budget. So hopefully we'll be $1 to the good when it comes to the end. Every department in here is tightening down the belt so tight it's not even funny. But that is one example of where we have stepped up and we have said, we're cutting off our training. We're doing all these different things just to stay within budget. So every one of these department heads in here are doing everything we can to stay within range. Yeah. So.
But to answer your question, we're going from 6.1 fund balance to 5.5 projected.
But for the current year we're in, we're actually increasing the fund balances for.
So maybe
You
more
don't
than
see
6.
that on the sheet. The stress has got to project what the fund balance is going to be when we start fiscal year.
and basically what I did was I took what I already had as a 25, and I added what we collected in revenue minus what we spent year to date, which they can print at any time because our software is spot on. Whatever we have encumbered, it's gonna, split the numbers out. So that's how I came up with this number, but that number's gonna change every year.
So what was the fund balance July 1st, 25?
Fund balance was 5.2 million.
And just,
So we're 300,000 projected more because of less spending.
yeah.
I would just like to say I've watched these people work on this budget, blood,
Oh, I know it's
sweat,
been hard. I
and
know it's
tears.
been hard.
And I've watched the department heads squeeze every penny they had, at the same time trying to keep our citizens safe and providing what they need for this to be a great town for people to live. And the time that people have put in this budget, when I would go up there, it's just absolutely amazing. And I am so grateful for all the squeezing you've done, and I wish we'd have a landfall and we could just pay each of you everything you deserve and not have to tax the citizens. But when you've got a variable that changes to us, then we just can't control everything.
So I wanna ask, Bill, if you have a suggestion for us, like what exactly, which direction you want us to go in as far as the budget? My opinion, all your department is really were still on it.
No, I'm not, the stats great. I'm just saying it's a lot of money. And we're raising water and sewer, and we're raising property taxes, and it's a concern we have to think about.
And see, last year we lowered tax rates 1%.
Well, 2 years.
2 years.
Well, the
2
tax
years
rate,
ago
we
when they
went
had,
up on the
tax.
total amount.
So, when a lot of people didn't lower it, we did. We should have not done that, but we did. So
We do have a comparison here if you want to quickly look at it. This is the tax rate per municipality currently in Nash County. And
That's not right. Oh.
It was county,
County.
that's all.
yeah, there's the county, and part of Rocky Mountain is in Edgecombe. There we are.
Sure.
Thank you. I already stole it.
I threw Wilson in there too, even though they're not.
Now, this is where we currently are, right?
Yes.
And if you look at it, our tax rate, even at 62, is still below a lot of this time is around.
Yeah, I didn't do an average. I could have.
I recommend Wilson. I kind of skew a little bit. Yeah.
So,
So the average is 6.1.
And 6 point.
Yeah. And then you look at those. And then, of course, the combined rate.
And to answer your question, I don't want to micromanage anybody, but I'd still like to take care of the citizens if I can, because I'm a citizen too.
I think
what she's asking is, what kind of suggest, where in the budget do you think we need to
I
make?
mean, I marked a couple places. I mean, do we need another person in planning? Do we need 2 new vehicles, do we need 2 used ones or 1 new one and 1 new one next year? There's a couple places like that that we can look at.
For planning, Sherman and Thompson for many hours. I know because we payroll and they are, they part-time because there's not enough hours and they can, what they need to do. So definitely they need a person. Right, they need a person, really, but we've asked for people, I've been doing this for 2 years and prior to me, Sam, John, they've asked for new positions. It's always been put out. Ever since I've been like working alongside former directors, every new position has been put out. So I'm speaking up because I don't see where Nashville can grow if we were never putting any additional revenue. You can't be another person, you can't buy stuff, we can't keep up, and everything's going up. So I'm just speaking for them.
This budget just has a part-time code enforcement officer in it. And John felt fairly confident you'd be able to find somebody to do it part-time.
With that, I was just speaking to someone the other day about the Main Street program, and in order to be a part of that, you need someone who would be like the Main Street coordinator, and that would produce a ton of grant funds, and it would allow for businesses to be able to come in and utilize grant funding. If we were to do something like that in planning, would we be able to take advantage of Main Street? Having that person maybe, or would it free up some time to allow for someone to do a part-time Main Street coordinating?
We could probably use that person too for other things, but I was telling Sean maybe groom that person, find somebody that's really like interested in planning and groom them, and then make sure maybe they can fall into a full-time position to do other things. But
I guess that goes right, time and trust, that's the goal right there. Find somebody that we can bring in and just get them on the right track, seeing that the job can project to a permanent part-time, full-time job, can get to a work site.
So an MSD person could be part-time, right? If we join the downtown, what do you call it?
What,
But it is-
Bruce Davison said you can be part-time, but it has to be dedicated. I would definitely want to follow back up with Bruce
Yeah.
to make sure, because last time we talked in CDBG class up at the community college, he mentioned part-time, but he said it could have to be full-time. I could follow up with Bruce, said he did a lot today,
Yeah.
just to make sure we're all in line. I don't want to quote nothing that's not right.
It might have been, it could be part-time MSD, but it'd be a full-time, I can't remember what it said.
Right, he broke the scenario down. I'll reach out to Bruce today and send some out to the community.
When we last talked about the Historic Preservation District, in order to have a formal one, it does require staff. We have to have a staff person for that program.
When do we vote on this, by the way?
We have our public hearing on this for
June 2nd.
June 2nd, and then, we're gonna have a vote then.
And two, let's put out there that we are thinking about building a police station, so I just don't know where ever it will ever happen, if we don't put some money to it.
I want to review,
All right.
Please remain seated. Accept my apologies for being talking.
That's fine.
okay. I did want to review quickly with the council, just some things that didn't get put in the budget. For Park and Rec, we wanted to have cameras at Stony Creek Park. We still have an annoying and nagging drain problem at the rec center, which is going to require the concrete floor to be broke up and the line relayed.
Go inside the restaurant?
Isn't that correct, Boyd?
We believe so. We still don't have a firm figure on where the issue is, but yes, it's somewhere near either inside the building or right outside. It'll be right outside, but more than likely.
Yeah.
We're gonna back up.
It backs up anytime we have a large crowd.
It's not too
I don't know how many times this year it's happened, but it's been a substantial amount of times.
Oh, okay.
ACOG's getting pretty good at ratting the line.
Yeah, okay.
We wanted to do additional paving at Stony Creek and some more at the cemetery. That didn't make it in this budget. It's been talked about paving the parking lot at Glover Park. We'd really like to do that. That's a $125,000 project. And additional splash pad elements. We didn't put anything in this budget for that. At Town Hall, we don't have anything in there for, everything we're getting architect-wise for looking at a new PD or an addition on the Town Hall it's been tree graphics. Oakley Collier hasn't charged us for any of that. But if we want to pursue the next step, we're going to have to budget some money for our architect fees. And then we wanted to look at new flooring in Town Hall, the carpet in the main hallway once you get from the lobby back into the offices is pretty worn now. Aaron does a wonderful job. Aaron Taylor, our custodian, he does a wonderful job of cleaning that carpet. First time he cleaned it, I never thought it would come that clean, but it sure did. And we wanted to get new chairs for the town hall conference room. I don't know if you guys, we got a hot patch in there. I don't know if they all showed up.
I actually stole ones out of here and put in town hall, because they were so bad at town hall, and it always looks so big. And they were all just a letter to
So planning, Sean had requested a full-time code enforcement officer. We were able to work in a part-time at 20 hours. He and Thomas, he wanted to do additional training on floodplain to get more. Well, I think, Sean, aren't you a certified floodplain manager?
Not yet, sir, but I wanted to go take the test, and we just haven't had funding to be able to see if they'll take the exam.
And then MS4 storm sewer training. Now, Walt currently takes care of that, but in most towns, the planning department, what we understand is that additional training in CDBG and then the historic preservation district. We didn't put anything in this budget for that. On the police side, Chief Shockley had really wanted to propose a career ladder for employee advancement, to help with retention, get long rifles for the patrol officers, and additional flock safety cameras. On the fire department, Chief Junior had requested 2 additional firefighters. We have 1 in this budget. Ladder truck replacement and air packs. And as he mentioned earlier, we've got some options for new air packs if we're successful with our request to Senator Barnes and Representative Chesser. On Public Works, we don't have anything in here for getting started for 2-inch water line replacement. We have some electrical upgrades that we're wanting to do at lift stations. We can get by another year without those. Jason had wanted to replace 2 additional vehicles in addition to the ones that we have in the budget. But again, we was confident we could get by with that. That cab tractor for the brush hog mower, they're currently using an open air tractor, which is fine until you get an SUVs. Then you drive real fast the other way. 3 lift stations, we want to, with what we experienced with Regency and not having bypass pumping readily plumbed into the lift stations, he wanted to set out to make sure every year we get 1 or 2 more of those lift stations physically plumbed. So they go down and we don't have a spare pump that'll fit into it. We can pull a portable diesel pump there, a couple quick couplers, crank that thing up and run that way. And then the office addition on the Public Works building. For right now, our environmental compliance employee, which is Walter Manning, he's in an office in a different building at the town shop because we don't have room inside for him. We'd really like to put a small office addition onto the Public Works main building there, office building, for additional storage, an extra office, and 1 wall. So none of those things made this particular budget that we're talking about.
Randy, is that page in our handout?
No, that's just, yeah.
How much grants did we actually get last year? Millions. We actually, not the ones that promised, but we actually in hand. Do we know? Quickly, I mean, if you don't know, tell me later.
Well, we got the 85,000, which was the study grant for, which helped us really with the hazard mitigation grant to study the outfall line to see what the options were there. Let me pull that up quick. So this is our list of grants received since 2019. Almost all of these, I highlighted the one there, that was for the fire station. Obviously, we got all that. We got the Golden Leaf money here for the grubbing and clearing, but that was a couple of years back. Even though we got the fire station 1.3 million back in 2021, we didn't finish spending all that until this fiscal year that we're currently in. We got some discretionary spending for the junction, that was a couple years back. Got more Golden Leaf, the rough grading for the business park, that was a couple years back. Big money, bigger money. this is what we're into right now, the Regency Estates sewer. We haven't drawn down on any of that yet, but we're going to be doing that as that project's being constructed. And the same with Essex Road, that $500,000 for Essex Road will be drawn down on those. To answer your question, Bill, I don't know right offhand. But these are the awards that we've been given, by whom in the amount and the approximate date that the award was given. This discretionary, all this $350,000 from the rec center has been spent. This is the one I was talking about a little bit ago. It's the Regency Lift Station Abandonment Project. That $959,000 will begin drawing down on that, most likely before the end of this calendar year. And some of these other ones, this lead service line inventory, it was awarded to us. We didn't take it because it was in the form of a loan, and our guys already knew where our lead service lines were, and we just completed the inventory ourselves. That was one Mike Tolson wrote for us, and we were awarded, but we didn't take. Coy got this, and I think we spent this $200,000 for the clearing of Stony Creek. May have to move up so you guys can see.
Well, just look at that, you and our staff have done an outstanding job for getting grants. If you would take those sheets away and look at it, look what it's time to be if we had to come out of pocket with that. So you guys, if you can,
So $7.1 million is what we, in the last 6 years?
That's a selfish calculation of mine. That's what I wrote and myself and responsible for the city. The 16 is what the staff, since I've been here in 2019, have been able to bring up.
And Randy, one quick question. You were talking about the Office of the Public Works. Any addition, any idea of what that estimate cost would be?
$250,000 is just a rough cost. Then we're gonna have to do some water line readjustment. We have water lines that run through there. Estimated cost on that probably about $50,000. So somewhere between $350,000 is just a rough cost to get a little more office space over there.
Everybody else is going up.
Yes, sir. Every year.
Every year, yeah.
We did really good on our equipment shelter that we built over there. We projected $300,000 for that, and what did that come in at? 94.
And it's nice.
So they're gonna have those back into the fund balance, unless we reappropriate, so we don't have to put it back into the fund balance, just reallocate it to cover
Something else.
costs in this fiscal year.
I don't know if there's anything specifically you guys want to talk about. I guess we'll.
Well, in everything I've looked at, I think you squeezed out the limit. You should get out the limit and try to keep things where, with your recommendation, the 15 water. And I don't even know if that should be a little higher than the 2%.
Remember in the general fund, there are no new police cars in this budget. Shockley, if you want to have him speak to that, he sure can.
We need to get them, what's the increase for police salaries?
There is. What we had handed out, let me find
You
it.
didn't, I don't see where you put any money aside for our revenue, for our new stations for our investment. Where's that money coming?
It's on there.
It's in-
24,000.
On the expense.
On the expense side.
Shockley, do you have anything you'd like to say there?
If you have questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Do you have anything you want to say about the bill? As well as the rest of the.
You like
the representative.
I think that Dr. Vanille had squeeze since we made cuts. It may not, the bottom number might not have gone down, but the cuts were there. I don't know how to speak for everybody, but I know the but number went up, investigated office space or something there for that. Chicago, cars, we took an assessment. This is, I'm not saying ironically, because this is about the only year we pull it off. We've done it with these cars, but we're gonna have to start phasing it back into the budget some this year. This is the only way I can see you get close. That's frankly, I don't like taxes going up either, but at the same time, these are services that the town provides. And I've lived the whole mass exodus, I've been hiring people and training them nonstop. One, it's not fun, it's a burden on the people that are senior, and they tend to want to leave, especially when they're underpaid already. And quite frankly, on 6-1 on 100 is cheap.
Couple questions. So a lot more on maintenance you just anticipate because the vehicles are a little bit older, because it's like almost double. Is there a reason for that, or just? It's 100. I saw 100 somewhere, that's it.
There's one side.
Last fiscal year, looking 106 to 100. And that's one of those things that me and Mr. Langston were talking about. We talked about potentially cutting it, but with the gas prices the way they are right now, we rather cut it than we ask for budget. I haven't asked for budget, and we didn't help fight on it. So I mean, you can hypothetically say we're going to cut it, but there's a good chance next fiscal year, I don't just sit there in front of you asking for more money, but gas in the car, to drive. The Raleigh PD, I think, 2 days ago, they had to do this year, they had to bump the gas on tires because there's no money with the car.
The other question I had was the leases. Are any of those going to run out?
So that lease was a completely zeroed out line item last year. This year, that lease is the 3 to 5 year lease. It's the one return for the, what's that from?
No, I'm talking about the vehicles.
No lease will run out this year.
You got 115,000.
115, that's what we were last year. The same as what I did in the
It stays the same.
The only reason we came in a little lower this year was because they took for February today. That cost that we got should be lower than the next. So we didn't make any payments on it for 9 months, which is money that we should have been making payments on. So it may look like it's lower, but this upcoming year is going to be $150,000.
I know you mentioned going back to buying, I think you said future. So these leases, one we just got, it sounds like. So there's going to be a couple more years of leases.
We'll be stuck in these leases. But the plan is not to the lease program, the pro tool was when we entered into a lease, it looked on paper like it was a lot less money. But when you stretch it out and then you get the whole fleet of leases, you're actually paying more than you buy the car outright because, you may drive your car really hard. You may handle your car, and your car will last you 300,000 miles. Your car may last you 9,000 miles. But with the lease program, it was good because we recycled. But, we have an issue truck right now. I think we're right over the 100,000 threshold. We got in the car, the engine was just fully maintained, and $6,000 in the interior of the car is brand new. But you may have a control officer getting in and out of the car 40, 50 times a day, and that car won't make it. The engine won't make it. So those cars are going to make it idle. Charging will be open up on highway. The Dodge Durangos we have, they sound great on paper because they're cheaper, but they're not cheap. The Explorers, way better. Those Durangos, luckily, will be safe on the market. We have to be there all year long. Cars that didn't even have 10,000 miles on them. And talking to other agencies, that's a very common problem.
Don't let me use it.
We could go to electric vehicles.
No. I ain't even talking about it.
Well, I'm grateful for the chief's budget in regard to the salary because retention is important across the board. And it sounds like you were still aware. So you were able to be creative with your budget so that the PD could get something. Because we all know if you don't get nothing, you're not going to hang around long.
Exactly.
Yeah, honestly.
I wish I could say this is the last time we talked about salaries, but I've been in the last 3-4 years, and I'm glad that it's out of some overtime. Longwood is salaries, more generation Longwood. I wouldn't say they're not more like that's the word, but
They've got to survive too.
We got to buy, all their expenses going up the way.
Exactly.
It's very expensive to schedule a town hall. And they're not gonna stop. So the only way we can stay ahead of the curve is to have these discussions about the salary.
Public safety items, be it fire or police, is not gonna be any cheaper.
No. And that's one thing we've got to provide for our
They
citizens.
go to them because they can't protect this if we can't protect
We've got
that.
to provide for our citizens in that area. And I think if the citizens knew what the police department prevented from happening in this town, they would be amazed. So council, what are your thoughts? Any more questions?
The sheet that Randy put up a few months ago about the stuff that did not make the budget, it did not make it because it was reported, not because it didn't need it, it was still needed. And, I mean, we put it off this year, but that same list could fall right back on that same
With
sheet
more.
again tomorrow with a different price tag on it. So we need to keep in mind that if we put it off this year, Nashville, in 16 years I've been on the council, we've been known for kicking the can down the street. You can only kick the can so long. We're gonna have to ante up somewhere, but we try to do it gradually. Like you said, you hate to see a 15% increase, we can't get that. We got to increase our tax per 100 from 59 to 61. It was 61 2 years ago. So we're not digging into the citizens' pocket. We put a little money in their pocket for the last 2 years. Now we ask you for it back. So I'm a taxpayer just like everybody in here, just like everybody that's listening. No, I don't see it going work, but what we've got to deal with. The average citizen does not realize, I have no idea how much it takes to run a town this size, be it fire, police, maintenance. They just don't know. I always say you need to walk in every department's shoes at least one day to see what we're doing.
And they, I don't think our citizens realize what our, Jason, your department does, picking up the cuttings, picking up the limbs. I stay in Greenville a couple of nights a week, and honey, you pay by everything they come by and pick up, and you have to call them and tell them, and they'll tell you the price. And so these citizens are blessed when they put trees out beside the street and everything else. We, as a small town, I am very proud of what we provide for our citizens after watching Greenville and Winterville and some of these others being in their area for a few days a week.
Mayor, once again, that pile of stuff I had in my yard was not a tree, it was a bush.
I wasn't talking about yours. I knew it was a bush, but I saw a tree in a yard.
At another location.
And I started to give a citation, but I didn't. Just teasing.
Randy, with the growth that we are experiencing in Nashville with all the new houses and things of that nature, how soon could we expect some relief to our budget in that regard?
I'm not sure, Xavier. Cardinal Woods alone is on track to do almost 33 houses a year. They're doing, they've been averaging about 5 a month. Harvest Creek is completely full. That developer is looking around to do a similar development. No solid plans on that yet.
Does he have property in the city limits?
He's identified property that's right on the edge that he can acquire and go that route, similar to what he did with Harvest Creek. I don't know, Xavier, the inflation over the last 5 years has outstripped even the nice modest increases we've had in taxable value. And as was said before on the public safety side, I just don't see that slowing down any. I mean, the cost of turnout gear, I remember when you could buy brand new turnout gear for a firefighter for $1,200. And now it's $4,000. The self-contained breathing apparatuses, the SCBA's, I remember when they were $2,200, they're almost $8,000 now. So, I mean, I don't mean to say that and sound whiny or complaining, but it's just the truth.
Well,
It's the reality of it.
we need to have that in focus.
Exactly.
As we're planning and going forward, because, everything's going up.
And I was able to find out, even though that bill is still out there, that would reduce, eliminate the 2% tax on groceries.
That'd be a serious one.
I've heard from our league lobbyists that it's not likely to be voted on in this short session. And like I mentioned, our town attorney's been around for a long time. He said they've been talking about this in the General Assembly for 30 years. So, and still, I haven't been able to tell anybody. The league is in the process of calculating what that will mean for towns and cities. And I have no idea if it's significant or not. Again, food is one of 7 categories, and for Nash County, it's the 3rd largest category. How much of the sales tax in that food category is groceries? I'm thinking it's probably substantial because of the name, food.
And the sad thing, and this is Brent Brown's opinion, is that when these large municipalities do things, and our General Assembly, they don't think it's right, sometimes they make a decision, and they punish the small.
That's exactly
tough. And that's unfortunate. But I'll have to say, the staff, and I think the council, we've looked at it, and I think our citizens know that we have a heart for them, and we want the best for them. We just don't want to up something, but by God, I want to keep them safe. And if their house is on fire, I want firemen to get there, and mine too. And we can't just, we can't settle for mediocrity. We want this to be a town of excellence, and you just have to pay that price.
I'm saying, you asked about relief. I don't know if you call this relief or not, but I am quite certain that after this legislative session, there's already going to be a referendum, a constitutional amendment this fall in the November election that will ask the ask the citizens of North Carolina if they want the state to impose limits on county and local government's tax rates. And I can't imagine anybody not voting yes for that.
But it would be devastating for a town outside.
It could be. Now, I don't know what the actual legislation, then the General Assembly will have to follow that up with actual legislation on limiting tax rates. But that has, the ones I've seen, have kind of a way out. And typically, what I've seen is a referendum vote of your citizens. Basically, something on the ballot. Now, can it be at the November election? We set our budget now, so we have to be a year in front of it if we were going to propose a tax increase. And if that tax increase required a referendum vote of the people, it doesn't line up well with budgets, from what I've seen. But, the question, shall the town of Nashville increase its tax rate from 59 cents to 61 cents? Yes or no? And if the voters say yes, then we can do it. If they say no, then we have to do other things.
That's when we have to do a good job selling what it would do to our town if they didn't vote positively.
Yeah, I agree, because I was going to say that would require marketing, selling.
Exactly.
Or maybe the word is even educating, so that people are aware. You can move from Nashville, and you can move any locale, but you're gonna receive the same thing. It's gonna go everywhere. It's possible.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah,
And it's like,
because of services that have to be provided.
and nobody
Especially
sees
looking
the
at
need for the fire department till the house is on fire.
That's right.
It's just,
Well, so Randy, are you saying that the town would vote on what the rate would go to? Or are you saying there'll be a limit or vote?
There'd be a limit, and if you exceed the limit, you'd have to have,
Okay, see, limit would be a vote.
Yeah, the referendum bill. From the two bills that I've looked at.
So like Sharpsburg, 0.83, which is pretty high, they would obviously maybe a limit for that. I'm thinking,
Yeah, I don't know what the proposed limits, well, they're all over the board, but what, finally gets voted on and approved by the General Assembly has yet to be seen. But I'm certain it's coming. There's certainly an appetite from the residents of North Carolina and whole for that to happen.
Okay, so, I've got two things. One is to growth and new development, and the guys in Public Works may be changing how we pick up bulk items, yard waste. I think we should probably split that as a whole, see what y'all think about it. Along with a few, increases in fees. I do have a schedule here, maybe, you guys want to look at it. And, Jason has some ideas, as far as like bulk items. We did speak on it the last time.
so now we're talking about cutting services and increases in fees.
Well, see, if we're not going to increase, we cannot continue to provide the level of service because the town is growing and more subdivisions, they are running up. The guys can't do any other projects if they are routinely picking up trash, picking up yard waste. They can't do anything else. And so there's no position, so, it's just like our route, well,
So that's the fee schedule. This is the actual proposal that Jason, and you guys probably didn't think to print it off.
You sent to us?
Was it emailed?
I don't remember getting that.
We can discuss it later.
Well,
No, I'm gonna make it.
These highlights of what.
we talked about the fees first.
yes.
So, yeah.
The highlights of.
Everything that's highlighted is proposed
Oh, it's changed.
increases, but nothing as far as the, operation. Because as I stated the last time, the car come run this truck every single week, and the garbage truck, like you said yesterday, we go out to one house, we go one bureau, and gas is, you gotta think about the whole route, and the stack of paper that we get at front counter, like this week, somebody wants to pick up one item. So I suggest that maybe we do a spring clean, fall clean, and in between, if you want something to pick up, you pay a small fee, or wait until it's at 3 times a year, or we can do a quarterly, like four times a year. Yeah, we offer it one time, and then the other time, if you want something to pick up, you have to pay for it because sanitation is trash. We're offering an additional service for free when I pick up something that won't fit in your tank.
Correct. And what we've seen is it's very small things. So we're running a truck, diesel costs have gone up, so we're running a truck every Friday, and we're picking up a lamp, a mirror, a bedside table, a mattress, So my proposal is to only run it once a month and then charge 2 tiers. So if you only got one little small thing, then we'll pick that up for $25. If you've got a lot of things, then we'll pick that up for $50. And that can be set whatever y'all would like. I just made a proposal to start the conversation. We will have to do something with TVs, electronics. Nash County, our town citizens can't go to the Nash County dump sites. They don't have the tags are going up from what Nash County's proposing. So.
What's it going up to?
I don't
It's
know.
75 now.
I think it's more like 125.
Well, it's in time for 2 years, right?
Yeah, and then they'll prorate it if you get a year or two or something. But we'll have to start picking up TVs, electronic monitors and so on and so forth. So we propose a $5 fee for that. All we're gonna do is go and put them somewhere, and then when we get a rider truck full, a company will come, bill us, and dispose of the property.
So you aren't making any profit?
It's not a profit, it is just.
Covering costs.
That's it.
But I would think the residents would appreciate being able to part with an old TV or computer monitor
Right.
without it being big to do.
Well, we're all gonna have it because they're all crap. I mean, we're gonna have, everybody's gonna have one in the next couple of years.
Right, but we got to make sure that the citizens know that we're picking it up once a month and not sticking it beside the street on the first of the month, we're not gonna pick it up.
It won't have a set day, so if it's the first Friday of the month,
Right.
that's the set day.
Everybody's got to know.
We'll put all those.
Well, it's like you said a while ago, we're gonna have to market it and let people know what we're doing in advance.
That is correct. I mean, and right now, we're doing it every Friday.
I know.
So that truck's going around the whole town every Friday picking it up. So in lieu of requesting more personnel, this is one way we can do that with the same personnel we have and start doing other things as well to beautify the town and make sure everything's kept up.
So we did it once a month, it'd be the same day for everybody?
Yes.
So we would, like the first Friday?
The first Friday of the month, we would do it whatever the council, like I said, we would do it, we would put 2 guys on the rear packer. If we needed more, we would assign more personnel, but then that would free up 3 Fridays for them to do other tasks. Repair garbage cans, replace garbage cans, so on and so forth, that we're struggling to get done, having to run that route every Friday. And then that truck has to go to Rocky Mountain dump every Friday. So it's just a continuation of cost, and for the items that I've seen that we're picking up lately, it's very minimal. Somebody moves out and the whole house gets cleaned out, and that's a lot. You can fill up just about half a garbage truck just for one house, and then we're paying for that to go dump, coming back, and then
And they aren't paying anything.
they're not paying anything.
So we need to have a special fee for that one.
Yeah.
Well, and I just did a basic fee, and as soon as the proposal gets back, we can take a look at it. I just did something basic to get the conversation started, 25 and 50 or 2-tier system. I would hate for a citizen to put out a nightstand because they need to get rid of it, and we charge them, and that's working them out of rate. But the citizen that puts out a whole house needs to compensate the town for the time, the diesel, the going and dump, and so on and so forth.
If we could charge for little things too much, then they're just gonna hide it in the trash can.
Some of the stuff we've been picking up bulk-wise, Bill, if somebody took some time to break it down, it would easily fit into the carts.
Correct.
But, when you can put the mirror out and not have to worry about putting it in your cart, hitting it with a hammer, breaking it down, it's so much more easy for the resident.
I have seen it all. I've seen it all from plastic flower baskets that are on the boat route on Friday to, again, a whole house. So but we're running around every Friday, we're getting everything on the boat route.
Whatever y'all decide, really, I thought it would be good for news or us to be able to put on our website a picture as of this day. We will no longer pick up both items every Friday and then put the schedule. And just leave it up there so the citizens can see it and, you know.
We can add it to the back of the war bills, and there's a lot of communication.
There's always gonna be someone that said they didn't have, but it's gonna be website, social media, water bills. I mean, we put it out there.
Local
Yeah,
newspapers.
newspaper, I mean, that
The
kind of
graphics are
people,
good.
there's always gonna be someone who said, I didn't know. No matter every possible way that
But you
do
know
it.
something else you may have to look out too, you may have to find people if they put it out, just want it to sit on the side of the street before pickup day. You may have to give them a little
And
fine.
that's just more,
What?
that's just more justification for the part-time person.
Yeah.
So, another thing that I would like to propose is currently we do yard waste every week. We take the chipper truck and the flatbed and we go and we haul stuff, as well as the leaf machine every week. So, hearing your comments from last meeting, my proposal would be on the first and the third week of every month, we go and do a yard waste route. We will drop the second and the fourth week. And what that'll allow that to do is our street department, when we have these potholes and cuts, I don't have a guy running around on Monday, repairing a pothole on Tuesday, running around on Wednesday, repairing a pothole on Thursday. Our asphalt machine will store asphalt overnight, but the way it is now, it's hard to do 2 days in a row. If we do this, we're still getting the yard waste, we're just getting it every other week now instead of every week. And that will free up our street department guys. Not gonna ask for any new help this year, probably. If this goes through, we won't ask for any help next year. But we'll be able to do street repairs, signs, sidewalk crossings, all those things that kind of get pushed to the back burner. We can make those more of a priority and keep Nashville beautified.
Yeah, but if I'm on a different schedule for cutting, is Sean come out and give me a ticket because my grass is out there in the street for an extra week?
That is something you would have to coordinate, you know? I mean, we would say we're gonna do yard pickup the first and the third. So if you would coordinate knowing that on the third week, we're gonna come by there and mow the grass accordingly, then it shouldn't be an
Don't cut
issue.
your grass on the second and fourth.
Councilman, we would have
Think
some
Bill has
reps on
to-
there.
I mean-
If you cut your grass and it's on the curb and stop, and we, for Jason's crew to come pick it up, we wouldn't try to.
That's what I'm saying, I mean, that's
Yeah,
what,
we'll have-
I
we
mean,
would
because
just-
people that work different schedules, and they work, I mean, firemen work different schedules, and they can't cut the grass from the third week maybe.
I would not propose in charging anybody a fee for having yard waste up, you know, on the side of the road.
Just keep in mind, it's gonna be there a week longer.
But it's
sitting
like
there.
lawn cutting or leaf, but trees, no.
If somebody cuts something
Bushes.
on Wednesday and their route was Monday, it's gonna sit there almost a week anyway. This time it will sit there a little bit longer.
Yeah, we can't find the folks their work schedules, I mean,
And we have decided that many people for stuff on the curb, for lawn clipping, it's mainly like the mayor just said, don't big bulky trees, is what we cite more for on curb.
Right.
And not bushes.
And again, that's up to the council, this is just a proposal. You could be in favor of it or not.
Well, I think it's a great proposal considering it's saving salary for another employee.
It is, it's spraying up and talking to Lily in lieu of asking for more help. We need more personnel.
Right.
But this is a way that we can do it with the personnel that we have now, staying in the budget that we have now, and not adding an additional cost. We're gonna drop the services just a little bit, but we're gonna keep costs as low as we can.
Well, and then hours on the leaf truck too, and that thing runs every week,
Every week.
you get break every other week.
Right. And that's just gonna keep the longevity of that truck longer.
And then, flip side, the same operator runs the leaf truck, which Brent also does the street sweeping. And I hear complaints from time to time that we don't have an aggressive enough street sweeping schedule. It would allow Brent to sweep streets one week, do the leaf truck the next week.
But again, just a proposal, and the rates are, again, just for, the TV is about the only thing that really needs to move forward. We're gonna have to have a disposal, for that.
so county won't take them all, or they won't take them some?
Me and Randy had a conversation with county leadership, and they will not take that off, unless you buy the $75 package.
Oh, they won't take them from citizens unless they pay the fee.
Correct.
Unless you have a friend, you can take it out of there.
There's been some,
Friend.
there's been some suggestions, so, and as soon as it comes around, I'll have to do it.
Thank you.
So on the back page, I'm sorry, the middle page, the collection routes and schedules. So just, it talks about the director shall establish collection routes and schedules. So in my opinion.
Sorry, where you at?
Where is that?
It's the second page.
The current ordinance,
Yeah, the current
okay.
it's
one.
small print, all of it.
The last,
Yeah.
Oh,
That's what our ordinance says.
solid waste, okay.
I didn't know it was where I thought you read something.
So right now, it seems like it's kind of already, the language is already written in the ordinance that we can change. And then on the very last page, the solid waste and too bulky, the second sentence in there, a fee will be determined by the public works director based on the nature and the amount of materials to be collected. So it's already in the ordinance, we're just not implementing it and applying that. My suggestion would be, so there's no way that the director is showing any favoritism to anybody, is to set a fee, instead of it saying the language being that the director imposes the
Yeah.
fee. I think we need to have some set fees.
I
for
agree,
whatever the council
and then
needs.
we're treating all citizens the same.
Correct.
One concern, though, is there's a difference between leaving out one couch versus one lamp.
Correct.
And there's a difference between leaving out a couch and 5 smaller things. So if we say 1 versus 2, I feel like people are going to figure out a way to abuse that, or
Right.
we're just not going to be imposing the proper fees.
Right.
If we did if it takes up so much square footage in a pile, this by this by that, maybe that's a better way to do it, so we know how much of an effort, how much we're actually disposing of to impose a proper fee.
Very, We could, yes, ma'am, we could. I was just trying to something that our ladies at the office,
Right.
you know, I don't have to go out there, Chad doesn't have to go out there and say, well, how many cubic yards do we have on
Right.
this? It was just a simple thing to say, hey, if you've got this many items, then it's this, if you've got that many items, then it's that. Just a simplified way, but if that's the recommendation, we can definitely implement that.
I'm just thinking of the average, like at the side of my house right now, my husband had put out some wood, a couple of just like gutter items that were garbage. It's well over one or even two items. But as far as like being cumbersome, heavy, or, you know, requiring a ton of work, it does not. But if someone were to leave out a couch,
Right.
that requires a bunch of guys to come out
Right.
and dispose of it.
And Rocky Mount charges us based on the tonnage.
Right, so,
trying to
and how to,
fit some of that.
right,
Well, couldn't it
exactly.
be, if it could fit in the trash thing, then it's one fee, and if it doesn't fit, even though you don't put it in there,
Right.
it would be another
You know,
fee.
yeah, that's a good point.
That is a good point, Bill.
I'm open to whatever,
Right.
again, this was just a conversation starter here. I'm open to
We
whatever.
just don't have to have a person go out.
And
setting
determine.
it.
We would prefer that,
Yeah.
right, because then it gets into, well,
Because all your stuff will fit in the trash thing.
But
Right.
it kind of knows the whole, yeah.
right, and, you know, I would recommend that if it would fit in your garbage trash can, and it's not, I mean, we're not gonna take certain things anyway, just put it in the trash can. That's gonna keep us from having to go around, and I think that's kind of, the vision that I have is if
Yeah, but
it's.
if you got a lot of trash, then
Right,
then it's
right,
simple.
but then again, there's a small fee for a second trash can. So that's $6.90 a month versus a $50 fee. You see where I'm kind of getting at?
Right.
You know, it's gotta make sense, and I can make it make sense. Well, just talk with Samantha and let's get another trash can for $6.
Right.
And you can put a bunch of these little bitty things. We're gonna get it on your regular collection day, and we're not going back out on Friday.
Who is the individual that would be going out for the bulk pickup?
Our sanitation operator, Chris.
And I guess my question is, would they be able to make that determination, you know, as far as like if we did like a weight category or a volume category or something like that?
They could.
Mhm.
They could.
But then they would probably have to take pictures, so we had a problem with cycling, if the guy, I don't know if y'all remember, one of the drivers. He said to take pictures because the citizens would call up and argue with us that they didn't do, or they didn't have something in their can, so that would be another thing that we just have to deal with, because it's gonna be their word.
You need to make it as simple as possible, not to
Right.
take up, the people we do have influence time.
And again, we can implement something today for this fiscal year, and we can report back to you first quarter and say, hey, it's working out great, or it's not, people are taking advantage,
Yeah.
or it's really working out seamlessly. And we can report back to you each quarter, and then we can always reevaluate it next year, or reevaluate it 6 months in, and say, do we want to change this, do we want to revamp this? It's already in the ordinance that we should be charging.
Right.
So all we're doing is just.
So what if we did this, what you're proposing, and then had like a little star with a caveat saying, additional fee could be imposed by our public work director, you know, if something were excessive. So like if we did have the person who puts out their entire home, that exceeds the 2 items, but we don't have a big enough fee to cover what it would cost us to dispose of all of that.
So I would recommend doing a tier 3,
Mhm.
and just doing essentially, I don't want to say unlimited, but essentially a clean act, you know what I'm saying? And that fee may be $100 or
It should be more
$102.
than
What I would say, whatever it is that our cost would be at least. So
Right.
whatever it's gonna cost to get rid of it, whatever it's gonna cost our guys the time to load it all.
Right, and that's going to vary a little bit based on tonnage.
Right. And so I guess that's my point, that if it were to come back where the tonnage was so high, we could
Right.
send a bill to the homeowner and say,
We could, but that's
We
going
don't know
into
until we get there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's going into a several yard
Yeah.
garbage truck, and
Right.
when it all gets in there together, there's no way to quantify how
Whose
much.
is what.
How much did, Clark Street leave, and how much did Oak Street leave?
Well, let's take it back to, because what, and that's what we're trying to do, is to limit the amount of money that we're sending out to dispose of. So if we're doing a spring clean and a fall clean out, then they're only gonna take their truck down the strike maybe a couple times in that time frame, but the less times we have to go right now, I really feel like they would just hey, we got a garage, we're gonna sit back here, we're gonna break it down, we're put in your trash can, we're gonna put a little bit in there this week, next week, a little bit, but.
So, again, I think what Trici's proposing is, if we do this, we also implement a free, at no cost, spring and fall cleaning. So that way our citizens can still reap the benefit, but we are reaping the benefit of not having to go out every Friday. But, you know, in the meantime, in lieu of that spring and fall cleaning, or quarterly cleaning, whatever council desires, we could implement a small fee to be able to pick these things to help offset the cost of going.
So, make sure I understand. So, what you're suggesting too, I think, is 2 to 4 times a year, it's free on set dates. And the other times they have to call?
They would call, and just like they do now, they call and
For
say,
pick up, and there's a fee for that.
I've got a couch, and I need you to pick it up on Friday. And instead of it saying, you know, yes, sir, we'll get it, it's $50 or $25 fee. And as soon as you pay for that, you got online or whatever, we'll do a work order, and we'll get it, you know, the first
But
Friday.
the 2 to 4 times a year, either fall, spring, or quarterly,
It's gonna be
it would be free.
Correct.
This week, but if we're gonna do it that way, or we do the tiered, I would just say spring clean out, fall clean out. If they wanna just, you know, how we was talking about yesterday, Nash Canada's recycle day. What do you?
I said did. I have not seen one.
But I remember them doing it, where everybody would bring out, you know, confident things, they want to shred. But still.
It's very shredded electronics, medicine, all that.
Right.
Yeah, we could,
But I think we're gonna need a tier 3.
I'm open to whatever the council desires.
Does spring fall cleanup have any traction here, or do we stay?
I think if you give them a day, or else it's gonna be spread out, you know.
So
So-
have you come from a
Are we-
community that did spring and fall? People tell their friends, tell their relatives, and,
a lot of stuff.
but at the same time, the scrappers and the recyclers, you know, now I'm not talking JFL recycling, I'm talking about people that like to go through old stuff and repurpose it. They take a lot of the tonnage right off the curb before the crews even get there.
Especially they know what's coming.
Anything that's metal, they're gonna get.
Just say this one.
And we
The
just,
idea, that's the whole idea.
and then just tell them the week we're gonna do that.
Correct, and we can set it way in advance, so let's just say it's the first Friday in April and the first Friday in October, we set that now way in advance.
Right.
And they can prepare, everybody in the town can prepare, and that first Friday is no cost, we go and pick up everything, the town will make a big sweep, we pick up everything. If it takes 2 trucks, we get it, we dump it, and
So we're proposing to have the spring and fall clean out, and then you call in the in-between times.
and it will be picked up the first Friday of every month.
But part of this education needs to be, you can get a can for $6.
Correct.
Yeah. Because obviously if it's small bulk, you can throw it in the can, you can go to the trash
I
can.
mean, like, I could fit a toilet bowl in my hand. Is that really what we want to do?
I mean, it can fit.
And some people would do that.
Ideally not, but, you know, there again, I mean, we've got to do something a little bit different. You know, if you took the toilet bowl and you broke it down into small pieces and put it in the garbage can, you know, we're gonna grab it.
I know somebody's
Challenge
done that
accepted.
before.
You know, I mean, but how would you not know now?
Yeah.
I mean, you could essentially do it now. Right, we're not going to the trash, the arm's grabbing it and we're grabbing it and setting it back
The
down.
fits are good.
Okay.
I think Sean needs to start checking with that.
What is that?
But, and this is also something we can think about and implement it, you know, my recommendation would be implemented July 1st. If we're gonna make any changes, we're gonna change the schedule. The yard waste is a big one. I think we're definitely free up personnel to do, like I said, other items that we are lacking and keep putting on.
Well, the ideal time would be more Labor Day, but those times you're off that week, so you can't do that week.
Right,
And a lot of people are going.
right. Just another side note to this, because we picked the first and the third for yard waste, it would definitely free up personnel around Thanksgiving and Christmas. So those are really busy times for us. It would also, if us doing Mondays, the first and third, it would free up essential personnel for those holidays to make sure everything's going smoothly as well. So that's why those were picked, the first and third.
And the bulk pickup is only gonna be, it's gonna be per time, or is it gonna be per time and per day? So is it gonna be a set day that you have to call, or is it gonna be any time you call?
We're only gonna pick up bulk waste on the first Friday of the month.
Okay.
So you'll have to call and we'll set up bulk, and we'll tell them, it's just the first Friday.
And then in addition to that, we'd have the spring and fall cleanup day.
No problem.
I still think,
Because that's the biggest thing that I get on Facebook as well.
the only thing with TVs is we're gonna incur a cost to dispose of those.
I think then no matter when, spring,
Right.
fall, anytime, we're gonna have to charge a fee for the TV.
For the electronic.
Mhm. Because Nash County's paying a good amount of money to dispose of a 32-inch flat screen TV. And if you go,
Isn't it more than just TVs, isn't it all in the
it's monitors, computers, and TVs. So if you go to like one of their solid waste, they have pallets sitting up and they saran wrap it. And they have a tractor trailer from what we were told comes and picks it up, but it's a cost, it's not a free service. And then they dispose of them properly.
I think it's a good proposal, Jason, considering how we're trying to eliminate cost by another personnel and still service the needs of the community.
Well, we can get this refined and bring it back for, the June council meeting.
That'd be great.
And I think definitely add that tier 3 for the
I do too.
larger cleanup.
You propose a amount?
What amount you think would be fair? 150?
I would do that.
Okay.
I mean,
That's
'cause
what I
that's gonna,
Be something large, yeah.
We still have GFL, we still have Top Dog. If you're doing a house cleanup, they can set a dumpster in your driveway for your relatives to clean up your house.
Well, we don't pay for that, do we?
No, we
They
don't.
always get next to land.
But I think we'd want to set a fee that's maybe higher than that, so people's first choice would, if I have that much, I'm just simply going to call
Right.
GFL or Top Dog and have dumpster set.
Right.
So are you saying you think tier 3 needs to be higher?
A whole house, at least 150 to 175.
Jason, have y'all ever had to go back to a location to pick up?
That's not there. Sure.
you're feeling like home cook, home cook, and that.
What about the apartment? Are they put out all that stuff?
That has, it's not, I've only known of one that's been a home cook. So, and then we're all, the first, 2 times a year, it'd be in the spring and fall cleanup.
Yeah, free.
That's
A free spot.
free spring and fall cleanup at no charge, except for TVs and
Right.
electronics.
And we probably will have to put a limit on that free cleanup, because somebody will certainly clean out an entire house and will fill one truck 3 times at one place. But we can come up with a limit on that.
And again, if you just include some of the language from the statute that you provided,
Yeah.
where we still have a backup,
Mhm.
if it's unreasonable, if it's determined by our public works director, whatever, that,
If this is an excessive amount.
right,
Then the public works director will impose the fee.
in addition.
And from the ordinance, they knew we needed to charge to do this anyway.
Correct, and when I read the ordinance,
And we had
Yeah,
charged
we had it.
ever since I.
Well, bulk items should be,
Who's read ordinance?
bulk items
We are.
should not include a whole house cleanup. So we gotta find a way to say that.
Right.
I mean, because the whole house cleanup obviously shouldn't be part of
right, right.
We aren't in the moving business, are we?
it. No.
Who
We
have
have
got to
GFL
the
and we're
dumpster?
not-
Well, somebody renter moves out and their landlord puts all the stuff out there.
Most of those whole house, complete house clean out, people will move by midnight.
Yeah.
When did you say
Yeah.
landlord?
Right,
When the
clean it
landlord
out.
talks, when the landlord gets called.
Exactly. You know that.
I know that.
Say, we out in the morning, so that's kind of where the education will come in at, because that's what we get on the front. I've been doing some of y'all, I know more, so we got, we can go, we have those. Well, we
Oh,
as we go in, so we can know.
The fee schedule, we didn't update this for water and sewer rates. We will.
Right, right.
And then what was passed out, these are some proposals. Sean is looking at a third violation for a trash can. We have an ordinance that says after so many hours that your trash can and your recycling can is empty, you need to bring that in from the street. And most people, that's not a problem. Some people,
It is, Thomasine has received a very big publicity of the Regency subdivision, which is getting a lot of phone calls. The Regency subdivision, they're leaving their kids, I think, see that, where they have a lot of rental properties, and she's sending the third citation notice for $25. They do come in and pay it, but then next week, it's right back out again, she gets the same phone call. We think, just like we did last year, we're up in the code enforcement cleanup to 150, if we move it up, you'll see it slow down. We've seen code enforcement, as far as us having to go out to our vendor, kind of go down this year more with the
So you're talking about the repeat offenders. So when you have a same offender for the third time, then every time that they do it after that,
It's
it
just
would
a
go up.
$25 fee, and they get the letter, majority of them come here and pay because it goes to the landlord.
But you said go to 100.
Go to 100, you think it'd be a better option. There will also be a text amendment that we have to take the clean more back to you guys, because the ordinance states in at $25. So we're proposing that you guys be okay with this, and then June, going for the planning board, and you guys July to update the ordinance.
Now, what is our current ordinance as far as when you can put your trash can out and then when you have to bring it back in?
You have to bring it back in by the end of the day. So if you go, if your trash is dumped on Tuesday morning, guys can dump it by 7 p.m. that night. When you get off work, you should be going back to the house. Majority of people will start to see is leave out all week long.
I'll
So the-
take it in a little day later.
So the week long, we have a problem with, yes. But like, I'm just thinking about like a busy family who maybe has somebody out of town or whatever it is.
I'll give you that,
Yeah,
And
within
majority-
24 hours of pickup, I would say.
And majority of the ones like that, if they're out of town, the neighbor, if they don't listen, the neighbor calls, hey, I'm bringing the trash can from my neighbor next door. I'll get this afternoon. So we get those kind of calls to the town hall, but we have a lot of people that we know are there every day, they just won't put it back.
So now, when can you put the trash can out?
We always tell the person orders the evening that night, so if you know.
The evening before,
Right. So if
okay.
you know if your trash is getting up Tuesday morning, Monday night, 5 o'clock when you get off work, most of the time everybody pulls the can out.
Okay. So what if we were to, while we're doing this text amendment, do 24 hours before pickup, you can put it out, 24 hours after pickup, bring it in? So that's a very reasonable bring out, bring back time.
Right.
And then we can also do this.
I think that'll be good, because then at least we'll have a time frame, so after those 24 hours, if we get the call, we can know trash was picked up on Monday, now it's Wednesday, the can still at Curry, we can send citation.
Okay.
And that code, one time we were told those, did you know, Nashville, and that, me and Tom and we're getting together, we got a lot of flack about that, and I slowed down on those.
Yes.
But one of them.
Because that
was
is a very
about-
short time period.
And that's what most of the people would
Yeah.
like, it's a very short time period, especially if you work like a long shift,
Mhm.
so that would cover, that would be better.
And the other thing, if you're a family is on vacation.
Right.
Yeah. And you leave it out before you go.
Yeah.
Well, instead of 24 hours, can we say daybreak?
That'd be good. I mean, we try to work, we know, and she's pretty good with knowing the ones who are the repeat offenders. You got those families, like you said, Councilman Love, they go out of
Right.
town, we never send them a letter.
Right.
And we see the can out there on Friday, we know something's going on downtown. But she says those repeat ones that every week she sends something to, and even she gets on the phone and calls them. Hey, can you put your can back? They just do it.
And it's not just unsightly. When my kids and I go for walks, we now have to walk into the street with the
Yes.
stroller, with the bikes, everything, because they're blocking the sidewalk. So it really is a safety thing too.
Well, $25 and you don't catch me, I mean, it's a pretty good
Yeah.
deal, you know, leave that front. That's too cheap.
And I mean, that's what one person said, and that's kind of why we raised the code for speak last year, when they said it's easy for y'all to just go cut the grass, and we just pay the town. That's what one person told us, Reed said, I just gonna pay $25, I don't wanna take class, so send me a letter, I'll come here and pay $25, and I'll do it next week, I'll come back, then another 25, you cite me again.
Oh, my God.
No, it's not about that.
Double trash cans, like you said.
Okay.
Yeah, I like 100.
Okay, any more questions? Thank you, Sean.
Next one we got is the gutters permit. You know, last year we did the 150-25. Those are taking up to 3 or 4 days for me, Thomas, to get everything done. By the time I review them, and the time that we get the permits ready, she does, it's about a 2-3 day process. They're bringing in 18, 22 people at a time. We just had 15 yesterday at $0. We're thinking about moving that up to $200 flat fee, $75 per person. And that's under the police department. Because we did the 150 last year as a soft way to see how it worked, but it's taking up 2 to 3 days of just work to get this stuff prepared. It's putting the gap on the PD, DJ has to do 20 people, 50 free.
And the citizens don't like them anyways.
We understand, there's a line up the door, they got the one, I think, not for
We may have 18 more come today, we just found
What
out.
in the world?
It's just going soliciting, it is a hot commodity right now in every town.
Well, a lot of the college students get summer jobs doing door to
Do we
door.
have to do
Book
it?
And
sale.
it's that time of year.
That's how you, I think if we move the fee up 200 flat fee, $75 per person, it would not discourage, it would just make them maybe look at another town for them.
Yes, because I would say sales, most people don't even answer the door when those
No.
people come, or I answer the door, I say,
Right.
where's your peddler's permit?
Right, and that's what we always tell everybody, you ask me that for me. And the last things in the planning department, text them, that you guys know they come to you, you work with the town staff to begin working on that. We're gonna look that up to $500, just as with the time we have to put in with Mr. Harvey, myself, Mr. Lansing, town attorney Francis Bradford. That
What's that, Sean?
under the planning department, that should be.
Oh, I see, I just saw, okay.
So we think that would be a good effective cost for that, it's just the time consuming that put in, working with me, Mr. Lansing, consultant, town attorney, have to review these things. Temporary zoning permits, $85, we don't have a fee for that. We charge food trucks $40, so that fee will still stay the same. The only new thing you will see is the new thing that I'm adding, the public safety ride and armor equipment permit. Right now with the Blue Festival, we have for-profit festivals that bring in these merchants to set up these carnival rides. The town is not making nothing off those rides. I checked with Chattahoochee County, the city of Hickory, Morris County, and the city of Charlotte. They charge a fee per those rides for for-profit. So if Nashville Elementary will bring in a little carnival for the kids, that have a bull ring thing and ring toss, we won't charge for that. If people is gonna make a profit, we'll charge $150 per equipment per day. And I think that will be a good fee for the town to charge so that we can at least make something off those rides being set up in our town.
Will it hurt the Blooming Festival though?
No, because the Blooming Festival books the person and the agent who, like Michael's amusement was running, Michael's amusement will pay the town.
Right,
So the
but
Blooming Festival just booked and say, you need to
someone
call
else
the
is
town.
gonna be paying that fee though. So now, instead of it being 25 for the wristbands, it's gonna be 35 for the wristbands.
Right.
Instead of being $20 for 20 tickets, it's gonna be $35 for 20 tickets. So
Right, so-
it might, in the long run, hurt the Blooming Festival.
So it's 150 per
Per
ride?
ride per day.
Wow.
And I mean, we can drop them just.
I would drop it. I think
I would
that's
say-
lower that.
We would say
excessive.
$50 per ride per day.
Or just do a flat rate to say,
Yeah, we get nothing right now, so that's setting up Wednesday through Saturday and 17th, and the town's not making any revenue.
but we are making revenue off of it. You know, that's a huge event for town.
Right.
It's a huge economic impact.
Okay, I mean, even we just want to drop it down to
I would say,
$25.
can we talk with some of the Chamber of Commerce
Yes.
to see what their opinion is? And maybe there's a reasonable fee that we can put in here that we can make something off of, but it won't increase fees to.
Are we paying anything for the Bloom Festival?
Right,
Right.
exactly, exactly.
Are we paying anything to the movement? No, I'm saying, did the festival give us anything?
Oh, are we paid?
No.
No, we're-
Sponsorship, so we get
We get a float.
8 t-shirts, you get.
We get a float, okay?
You get a float, and you get,
And I just thought this tax would kind of help offset some.
Well, it might be smart, but we need to look and
Just
see.
do it right,
Yeah, look and see, if we don't want to hurt it, you know.
Right. And I'll reach out with the chamber and just see if we can get something.
Right, we get some input where, yes, as Xavier said, where we can maybe get a little bit something out of it, but not so much that it's gonna be passed down to.
And the last one, then planning going up will be zoning appeals, that'll be $500. They take so much time and so much, where we have to put them in the town attorney, that we want to raise that.
And we have to pay.
What is it currently at?
The zoning appeals
okay,
at
found it.
$375, so that'll cover the cost for myself and the attorney and Mr. Lansing, when we have to go to law. These start projecting all stuff together.
Okay.
It's on the old one, it was on the old one, it was probably 375 last year, so we just gonna move it up to $200.
Okay, so it's 275.
Right, so we moved it up to 500. We're just gonna be able to factor in costs for myself.
Oh, and
Wait a
we have
minute.
an increase of 400 here, so increase to 500?
Yes, we want 500.
Okay.
And I think I got my hard copy where
So,
I got
I'll make sure I get this right, because all the numbers thrown out everywhere. The Board of Adjustment appeal interpretation is now how much?
275.
Okay, and we're going to,
400, excuse me, I said it back.
Oh, okay, okay.
I was looking at the wrong, I'm looking at the wrong paper.
Okay.
That's it. That's it. That would just cover myself, the town attorney fees, and Mr. Lance, all the time that put in with those type of things.
Thank you.
thanks,
One
Sean.
final thing on the fees, the Freedom of Information requests. Lou has proposed some fee for that.
Well, you passed it like 2 years ago, where we would charge over 4.5 hours, because per general statute, we didn't put it in here, but we're allowed to. It's excessive, because we have had some excessive ones, and it's just putting it in the fee schedule, because it's on the website, it's on the public records request page, so just so that it's
Yeah,
happening.
we voted on that a couple years ago.
Y'all voted on that a couple
Yeah.
years ago, we passed it on, it just was never in the fee schedule. But though it is on the website, it's on the public records request, page.
The fees that we currently have are okay?
Yeah.
So council, any other questions about anything, or we've got to come up with a vote on tax increase and water increase
That's in June.
Yeah, after the public hearing,
after the public hearing?
these fees will be in there.
But we've got to decide what you want in there. Well, we aren't gonna have a choice with the water.
Oh, no.
Oh, no, no question.
And I don't think we're gonna have a choice with 2%, and I think we're being very fair to our citizens and lenient with them, and in order to provide them the services that they want and expect from us. We have got to keep our town safe.
Okay,
So
so
what are
we're
your
gonna put all this, you know how you usually get the binder,
Right.
so the budget and stuff. We're gonna put that together and I'll get that to you. Whenever they get it all, when we get it all, we've got to put it in the binder. Yes. Okay.
Well, I hate to call a recess, and then we have to come back just so I could get my dog for his treatment.
Well, I could use the bathroom.
Is that okay with
Well,
everybody?
we're not done?
It's up to us if we've done or not.
Oh, I could be done.
Because we're not
I
voting,
could be
right?
done, but we've got to let them know where we stand. So what,
Yeah, y'all gotta kind of come to a consensus.
Right.
So do you want to take this budget as reviewed it to public hearing on June
second,
2nd?
Or do you want us to go back and do something?
I think you've squeezed everything out of it you can, really. And I like what you've come up with personally as the mayor, and I like the suggestions, and I think it'll still provide the services for our citizens.
One thing I have is, look at the fee schedule. Based on what Jason has just put forth about twice a year, particularly, I have no problem with it. I just want to look at some of the fee schedule. And by looking at them, going over real quick, I always see anything in objections to this thing.
Yeah, I'm agree with that. We've got to make some adjustments. It's always going to be hard, but that's where we are. So there's specifically related to the water and the tax.
So-
Bill?
Well, I'm still hung up on, we're taking $1 million out of water and sewer.
So
What-
Gavin, you weren't here for when Bill had brought up a point earlier. So we're starting out with a fund balance in our water and sewer for 8.5 million. And then with our income and expenditures and projects that we're going to be doing, we're ending with 7.5 million. So it's $1 million out, not putting anything in. So Jason had come up and discussed with us the fact that we're matching what Rocky Mount is doing, but we're not going beyond what Rocky Mount is doing. And so we are going to continue to fall behind if we do projects and don't go a little bit above what Rocky Mount is doing.
That's on this budget summary sheet, you should have
Okay, yeah,
one of
I got it.
those.
Okay.
And I gave Eleanor, I got you the presentation that UNC School of Government gave you, so.
And there's a page in there that shows for, whether it's 15%, 17%, what it means.
So I would like to study that part and put a pin in water and sewer to see if that's responsible going forward at the 15th. That's just my opinion.
So what I hear you saying in summary is, instead of the 15th, we may have to
Right.
look at that because overall, it may not be suffice for the town.
Right.
You'll have additional years to discuss this.
Right.
Of course, 2% more is only 100,000.
Well, I think she's talking water and sewer rates.
No, I'm
Yes.
saying, we go up 2%, 15 to 17, it's only 100,000.
For what we would be able to
Right.
generate
Did we
for
talk
fund
about that?
balance? Can't remember.
Well, 2 cents on the tax rate.
No, I'm talking about with water.
Okay, 15% to 17%. I believe you're right, yes.
I don't think it was that much, which unfortunately, because, again, we're taking $1 million.
For what it would bring in.
And my concern was for those who were already struggling to make that
Mhm.
and having to deal with childcare, prescription, food, and groceries. But I do hear on both sides. So I do understand the dilemma.
Where did it show what the difference?
I thought we talked about it last month.
Yeah, we did.
Last week about going from 15 to 17, and
We had
I
like
want
a
to say it was
chart that
97,000.
showed,
I think it was $97,000,
It's on the
if I remember right.
change that figure, and if it was on.
I'm pretty sure it was 97,000. Which isn't that much increase either, to be honest with you. I mean, it's not much, $97,000 isn't that much money, but it makes it less than $1 million.
Is it that number, Bill?
Okay, it's 99. I was thinking 97.
so if the 15 went to 17,
It'd be 99,000 left in there, so instead of $1 million, taking away, it'd be 900,000-ish. Ish.
We're open, but we're just asking, if, I'm not sure what, that's why we gave you guys the, campus early. If you see something in there that, hey, can y'all take it out, what is the suggestion? Because we said for every one of the department is, and they've already cut, so we could cut some more, but what do you suggest that we do?
But right now, what you have proposed is a 15% increase in water and sewer rates. And what that shows is if you go to 17, how much more? I mean, about another 99,000 for the water.
Now, we're going to make some, in the coming years, there's some serious talks, all of them, it's serious. This is millions of dollars that we have to take care of.
Infrastructure. If we don't go with 15 this year, we might as well face it, we probably have to go again next year.
Especially like others.
The way the fence is going up.
oh yeah, if Rocky Mount goes up again
Yeah,
too, then we're gonna have to go twofold.
It's gonna be a larger amount
Right,
to the average citizen.
right.
How much can the everyday household afford? I don't know.
It's not a lot of disposable.
I'm inclined to go with 15% now, but in my mind, we'll have to do that. We're going to begin next year.
Some point in the future, yeah. Some towns, once they get their rates where they want them, then they put a CIP to it every year.
I'm saying, the reason I'm saying that, man, Rocky Mount's not gonna find, the money gone, they're not gonna find their million back for Rocky Mount in 1 year. So they're gonna still be looking next year. So it's gonna hit us again.
And 50% of our system is outlived its useful life.
We don't have to, prepared, by the little bit more.
If there is always a 16%, we're bringing $50,000 extra. So, I mean, that would be a even minimal on the average household, less than $11.
Well, I'd like to go to 16, make it 50,000, and then go back and pinch 50,000 out of the budget, and give it 100. I don't think you do 50,000 out of the budget is going to be
If
big.
you'll give me the leniency to kind of, I know you mentioned trucks, we have some trucks that are really bad. If that's your recommendation, I could probably find that, if that's so.
Well, I mean, again, I don't want to micromanage y'all, because you're in it every day, but I think we can find $50,000 in the budget somewhere. And if we go up to 16, that's another 50,000. That gives us $100,000 to leave into the water system. Just pretty much, but.
So your proposal is essentially to leave 50,000 out of the appropriated fund balance in water and sewer.
So instead of 3%, it's 3% minus 6,000. Take it out, and then raise the rate.
So you want to take 50,000 out of the general fund, because that transfer.
I don't think I don't, we'll get it
Well, I'm
back.
saying, we got to take the expenses out of the general fund. I don't come out of this fund. Because that 3%.
I think we can find $50,000 in the budget somewhere.
But listen,
Yeah.
hold on, what are you saying?
What I'm saying is, the 3% that we're transferring, again, so let's just go back to the study. That we should be building every facility for the water, so, we're in line to do that right now, we're, have a meter up there, we have an internal code to see how much water. So we're gonna treat the enterprise like a business. So what does every business in the town pay? That transfer is justifiable, as long as we can justify our transfer, we're not doing anything wrong. I get what you're saying, that you don't want us to, you want us to minimize the amount that we're spending out of that fund, but I don't know what we're.
If it doesn't go into the general fund, then that's,
We have to take something out of the general
Right.
fund, which is why I'm
so it's not gonna come out of sanitation, it's gonna come out of police, it's gonna come out of fire, it's gonna come out of Parks and Rec, it's gonna come out somewhere.
Basically,
Well,
we,
it
I
needs
was
to
just
be
trying to
salary.
tell the city, like, where do you want us to put? If you want us to cut salaries and take away from employees, just tell us what you want.
Do not cut salary.
That was just
And I want to remind you that fire was, at the beginning of the budget, was advocating for 5 new employees to be fully staffed. We brought it down to 2, and then when we said, hey, what about our internal employees already here? Yes, we want to fill these positions, but what about those that already here, that have been here? And then Chief Warner was like, fine, I'll just have to do what we want.
Maybe down
And
the
that's
road.
what,
You
and
can't cut it.
from 5 to 1, every single department has already cut what they can.
I really believe you. Can't cut it back.
and readjust it to make this number match. If we take anything else out, it's coming from the salary, because everything else is a necessity item for health and safety.
We had a conversation with planning director, we were like, hey, we really know you need this position, the town is growing, but we just can't do a full-time position. He agreed and said, all right, let's do a part-time. So every department is already making time on that.
So Bill, you were talking about put the water and sewer rates to a 16% increase, and then see if we can reduce $50,000 from our fund balance expenses in the water and sewer budget.
Right, instead of going 17, we cut half of that, and half of it is an increase.
And split the difference. Okay.
If the transfer is the issue.
Well, the issue is going from $1 million less, that's the issue.
Well, if we went to 16%, that 3% is going to increase what goes over to general fund.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
we can reduce it, because at that point, we're just trying to.
Yeah, we'll keep it at 192.
Trying to give the general fund some relief, but a justification of it is, if we treat the enterprise fund as a business, every business in the town pays taxes, so that's our justification, so just speaking with.
I'm confused. The 192 will stay the same?
So yes, because right now that's 3% based on a 15% increase. So if we go to 16%, then obviously that number
Changes
would,
a lot.
would increase.
It'll go up.
It would,
Because it's a
3% of the larger number now would
Revenues
go
are gonna
into
be greater,
the general fund.
but we keep it at 192.
So is it,
Yeah.
is that a wash then? Would we
That is
find
correct.
that, like, what does the increase look like? Would the 50,000 be right there?
It's just gonna be revenue. If we
So-
increase it, we can either, you know, doing some fund balance, and we could, move it to a capital project.
So you're saying taking 50,000 out of the fund balance?
No.
I don't want to do that.
No. If we were to increase rates from 15% increase to a 16% increase, that would generate an extra $50,000.
Right.
We are allowed to transfer over up to four, but we're doing three, a 3% transfer from the enterprise fund over to the general fund. But if we say, let's not do percentage, let's just keep it at the 92, which was 3% of the 15% increase, then there's going to be leftover money that we would have been able to transfer over that we're not, which might be what you're talking about, which is allowing another $50,000 to go into the fund balance for enterprise. Am I saying that correctly?
Can you transfer,
You're saying it right.
can you transfer our enterprise fund to the fund balance?
Well, up to 4%, we're doing 3%.
Up to 4.
But we're taking salaries too, more than we did last year.
We did adjust some of the cost allocation for a few of the employees who, now more of their salary and their benefits are being booked to enterprise or water sewer. It wouldn't be 50,000, it'd be 48.
So what would happen with that 48, we would then either,
Second page, if we salaries are down on the,
Okay.
on the, on the second page.
what would happen with that 48,000, we would put it in contingency, which is like a little savings spot, we don't spend it, it goes in the fund balance. Or you can transfer it into a capital project fund, which is another savings fund. That you can use in future.
So I saw a capital project on the other, on the general fund, but there's not one on the,
It's one of the.
there's a guy.
It's a line for it, but you only use it when you're actually gonna transfer money from one fund to another fund. But when you move it, it has to be for a specific project. So you can't move it over there and decide, oh, I wanna purchase a car, cause it's for that purpose.
Yeah, that, going to 16 instead of 17 effectively, back. Yeah, 48,117. Revenues will exceed expenses by that much, and then that could go into the fund balance, which is, I think, what you were talking about.
So a total of 48.
Well, it doesn't get, I mean, we need more than that, to be honest with you, because we got millions of
We're
dollars.
looking for more than that.
Again, we've got a fairly decent fund balance in enterprise, and we can get started on these capital improvement replacement projects. And we did a lot of stuff with $8 million.
Seven.
So,
But you can never justify increasing rates if we just didn't know what we never spent.
No, we have to make improvements.
Oh, we have to spend it all.
Yeah, you don't have to spend it all, but I think if, I was speaking with Melanie yesterday, just coming up with a percentage that we want to keep in our general fund, and then figuring out a way to start budgeting to transfer that into a project fund for future projects, but we have to be serious about exactly what it is we want to do, because once we put it over there,
it's been expensive.
it has to be spent for that, like, building improvement. Building improvement is kind of a big umbrella that could be spent there, but we don't have to have so much money in the general fund or enterprise fund, we can have a certain amount of money we want to keep on hand or in that fund and then move the money to the project.
I thought we already decided what we were doing.
We haven't been moving any money out.
We haven't earmarked it, Larry,
Right.
for anything specific.
Right.
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 But now that we're over, we are over, we can start moving some of that money out. So you want to be able to say, hey, we're saving for a fire truck or whatever we're gonna purchase so that we can justify having to have the increase.
What's everybody trying to do?
So the proposed budget has a 2-cent tax increase and a 15% water and sewer increase.
That's my choice.
That's what you have before you.
That's my choice.
What we've been talking about the last few minutes is maybe 16% increase in water and sewer. That would, a little more money in the capital, or the enterprise fund balance for big infrastructure projects.
15% increase, I can justify to everybody in time. With no question, I can justify it. But go beyond, then the question is, what are you looking for? If we need more, we got fund balance there that we can reappropriate as we need. So,
Sure.
I'm with 15%, like you already said, I don't think we need to go back to any department whatsoever and ask them to cut any more, because we're standing on the, I think what we got here, we can operate with our fund balance, we can touch that as we need it. If you don't need it, you don't need it. So that's my take on all of it.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree, because these are tough financial times, and everybody knows that Rocky Mountain has charged us 50%. So we're kind of right there.
That's a no-brainer.
Yeah. So that's an easier sale when we talk about the education market. So I'm inclined to agree as well. But we're conscious going forward.
There's going to be an increase, because I think if we were to tell the citizens that we've been eating those increases for the last 2 years, and that's why we have to go not just match Rocky Mount, but a little bit higher. But again, that might be an educational aspect that's not going to hit before June. So if we go into this knowing we are likely and more than likely going to have to raise this again next year, because I'm looking at $9.6 million in capital improvements that need to happen. And we are reducing our fund balance to $7 million something. We're going to need to start increasing that. Otherwise, we are going to have a failing infrastructure that is never going to be fixed.
We're not trying to push it all down your throat at one time.
In the next 2-3 years, what's our percentage going to look like of our failing infrastructure? Is it going to be 60-70%? So it's going to be every year.
As things age, I would say, probably the next 5 to 10 years, you're looking at 60%. So you got to think of how things come online when they get to their life expectancy, when they're going to start falling off, and you can start predicting failures. So, we had a big boom in the 80s, I think. Late 70s, 80s, that infrastructure is almost 50 years old now.
Not including the Honeydale structures that we still have too.
Right.
That's another part that we add on to the how
Not even part of this. I mean,
Yeah,
that's-
I know, I'm saying.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just something to think about, because I've been since 2017, and we always talk about, keeping it small, but the town's growing. And we are really creating.
And to Xavier's point earlier, you can move outside of Nashville, but you're going to be hit everywhere else no matter what. Just looking at this list, even with taxes, even with raising our taxes, we are still lower overall than more than half of these.
I think, big expense on us this year that we cannot help. still ain't coming out now, and it was all an increase from property taxes. It wasn't the salary, but it was the retirement. But we can't get out of it.
Well, retirement
so
was
it's
huge
just-
increases, yeah, I saw that.
it's just-
Insurance was higher, a lot higher too.
Again, one of those changes the state made that had no impact on them. It did us.
It's 2.4, and they also try to put that on us mid-year,
Retroactively.
with no warning, so.
Where are we now? What are we gonna do? Proceed with what we've got on the table before, or do we want to do anything?
Something different.
Something different. Bill? You want 17%, right? Or 16?
I sure like 16, I sure like us to pencil a couple figures on the budget and get it down some more, if not salary, but
So
thing.
you're talking about in water and sewer somewhere?
Not about 1% on the water and sewer, and we try to find some more funds on spending for the budget to keep more in water and sewer, but that way too.
But are you talking about spending in water and sewer, or are you talking about spending overall?
Spending overall.
I've been
I think
through
you're fine.
what I can be through, but this is a lot of paperwork, and I wouldn't mind looking at it one more time. But I just don't see where we can cut. So I think the only alternative is an increase in fees. And if that's just something that's not feasible, and we have to spread it out over years, I'm okay with that. But I think we obviously at least have to do the 15% increase to match Rocky Mount. We should have, and of course, hindsight's 2020, we should have increased last year, we should have increased the year before, so that you're not feeling it, we could have been maybe funding a little bit more. Right.
Well, and the Rocky Mount raises it a percent.
Well, that's my
next
fear.
year.
That's
We
my
have to
fear,
do
that
more.
Rocky Mount is gonna raise it another percentage next year. So we need to agree as a council that if they do, we have to match it and go up again
We have to go up more.
above it.
We have to.
Because that's my fear, that Rocky Mount is gonna keep increasing, and so we're never gonna catch up.
So where do you stand now?
We're all pretty close.
What Bill was suggesting, you have to put something out of general fund, and
I don't see where that's
some
coming
of
from.
you have sit with every department head.
I'm just asking for another look to find $40,000 to $50,000, and we potentially go to 16%, giving us $80,000 to $100,000 more in the water sewer contingent.
And in Jason's budget too, there was one other item that didn't make the one-time purchase, but the fence that is supposed to put around the public works building, that's not coming out of, fund balance. That's just coming out of revenue for the next year.
Where do you see that 40 could come from?
I mean, it could come out of fund balance, but this is moving it from one.
Well, I'm gonna move it.
to the other.
You're talking about doing like one pickup truck. I mean, that's gonna make this budget pass.
But that's coming out of your budget.
Right.
The number that he's looking at, the only way that number
That's
is
just-
to take something out of the general fund.
I thought he was supposed to take something out of the sewer.
So,
We got,
the
Yeah,
491 that's coming out of enterprise.
That is coming, yeah, that's the fund balance out of enterprise.
Right, so Bill, is your suggestion to keep $40,000 more in there?
Instead of taking 3%, take 3% minus some.
So you don't want to take the full 192? You want to reduce the 192 number?
I mean, we don't need to use $1 million less on the water.
Right, but what I'm saying is that there's fund balance coming out of the water and sewer fund
Correct.
for water and sewer fund items. So if we can cut from that budget, are you okay with $40,000 staying in from water and sewer? Where Jason's saying he could cut the pickup truck.
Again, I don't want to micro, so I don't want to say Jason has to take it with the truck. I think that we can go back and find a few dollars here and there in the budget and potentially go to 16%, leaving us $80,000 or $100,000 more in the water fund.
Okay, so my suggestion is bring this zero to contingency, meaning that if something happens and this has to come before you guys with a budget amendment, because it's gonna be out of our hands. You can zero that. Go down to Fund 30, take their contingency out.
Is that wise though?
Well, that's not looking at the budget, that's taking away something that.
If something happens, we'll be in heap big stinking trouble.
Right,
So-
what we're trying to do is reduce it so that, I mean, right?
Hold on.
But is that feasible?
Are we even, is this even necessary? Because I'm fine with going with 15 or 16 with the understanding that if we go with 15, we're gonna have to increase it next year. Where do you stand? Because it looks like even if we were both on the same page for 16% for water and sewer, she might not support that. So it's a 2-2 with a tiebreaker here. So where do you stand?
This is where I stand. I think these people have worked their tails off and cut everywhere they can to treat the citizens right and get a budget. Hours after hours after hours. And we're gonna come in here to remove that little amount? I mean, I know it makes a difference, but that's saying you have worked hard enough. We don't have trust in you. Go find me $1 more so I can go to Walmart. We can't keep doing that. This is a very fair budget, I think. So I'm for what you said. You know, let's keep it like it, increase it 2 and 15 or 16, and that's it. And then next year, we'll have to look at it more seriously.
15 with 2%, keep in mind, and next year we'll be having a couple of them.
And I'm in agreement.
I'm in agreement.
Then I think that's where we stand, because I would be fine with going to 16, but I just don't think that we can find the cut, so I think this is gonna be an exercise in utility.
Absolutely.
I just want to make sure that the citizens understand we're doing the best we can.
Well, we are. I think they do.
That's what I'm saying.
I think they do.
I'm not saying that our staff isn't doing a good job. I'm not saying the staff is terrible. I'm saying maybe we can go back and find a few dollars, what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
And we're
I'm
not
saying-
adopting this today, so if,
I
I
understand.
mean, we can all comb through this and we can see where we
I'm
see
not
things,
picking on
but
anybody in
Right.
this room. I'm not
Yeah.
saying Jason can't get a truck. I'm saying I think we can find a few more dollars because we have $1 million difference in our water.
Right.
So can we find a few more dollars for that? It'd be best for our citizens, is what I'm saying.
Well, I think the
Am I saying I'm not gonna vote
I know.
on the end result?
I
I'm not
know,
saying
but I
that.
think the citizens know that we've chewed on this, they've chewed on this budget and they've cut everywhere they can
But I don't wanna take contingency.
to keep
That's not the way it-
them safe and to do what we have to do. And a lot of this budget, I mean, we don't have a choice. It's,
I don't wanna take a penny from salaries.
Right. We can't take any from salaries.
We can't take it from salaries, we don't want to take it from salaries, but if we take it from equipment, we take it from whatever else, then we're telling these people, we're gonna take away your ability to do your job the way you need to do it.
And I think too, it would just be robbing Peter to pay Paul. You know, all this would be if we look for
Well,
more.
that's what, take the contingency, that's what happens, we're doing.
What?
If we didn't contingency, that's all we're doing is taking one from the
Right.
other, that's not gonna help at all.
and I do agree with your point, like, we're
I do
reducing
too.
our water and sewer, and we can't keep doing that, because
No,
we have
next year is 6 million,
millions
I
and
mean, that's the
millions and
problem.
millions. But if we're
I
all on the
agree.
same page that whatever Rocky Mount does next year is not going to affect the fact that we have to match and increase again.
Absolutely.
Then,
And the citizens need to know that we aren't doing really what we need to do just to protect them this year with the water. So that next year we won't have a choice.
That difference that you're looking for, Bill, for 40.
It's not much, I understand.
I know, but the 40,000 we're looking for, Randy, see if you can find $40,000 grant. And that's what we'll get.
Randy said, I would get $1 million.
but that's the other thing where Jason was saying a lot of what will happen is we can get grant funding for things like a water tower.
Right.
We can't get grant funding for things like fixing what's in the ground. So yes, just continue to do what you're doing, which is finding as many grants as we possibly can, but understand that that's not going to get us through with water and sewer.
So you understand?
We'll make it one more year.
Be on the same page, so I mean,
I think we are.
Yeah, because on top of things, even with locking up water, remember, we were pretty aggressive in sending a delegation over to say, hey, this really is not fair, you know. And of course, you know, we didn't get a a positive response. But as representatives, we took the time
Yes.
to do the
You
research.
talk to the citizens.
That's it.
That's what they need to know.
I
you
think
did.
the citizens also need to know we're still fighting. We are still requesting that information. We're still asking to see why the increase happened, what was the justification for it.
Did you ever get a response back?
No.
We're still waiting.
And I don't think we're gonna get one.
That was what I suggested to Randy. I said if they don't get it to us, then we have to do a FOIA, so.
Why don't we go in and do that?
Well, the LGC is expecting that report from Rocky Mount. from the
When
city
did they
of Rocky
get
Mount.
that?
It'll be at their June, they are on a monthly meeting. Rocky Mount's gotta go meet with the LGC every month until further notice. And that's one of the things they need to bring back at this June meeting, from what I was told by the LGC staff. It's the justification.
And I'd love to know how much they're transferring over from their enterprise fund. That would be.
I don't know if you read, I don't know if you read the Telegram's article from last Thursday.
Yeah.
Lisa Barnes was having the discussion with her fellow legislators in Raleigh about her local bill. But it was stated that $43 million a year is what is being transferred from the electric fund to the city of Rocky Mount's general fund.
And that's, so I know they already have a cap for 3% for electric.
It's 3% for revenue and 5% of assets.
But we don't have
Yeah.
any cap on water and sewer. And so,
Yeah.
yes, there's best practices, but
Best
I
practices.
wonder what they're transferring over from water and sewer.
Good question.
Yeah, that would be good to know.
Yes, sure would.
What?
Oh, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
I think it has the Senate do it, that it has to
But that's just for electric.
be just for right now.
Well, electric and gas, they had gas.
And gas, okay. So why can't we have water and sewer?
Okay.
I still think we need to go back and look when that was created.
Yes.
And just see the true writing and the whole
Spirit of
process
the
of
agreement.
establishing that, in the spirit of the agreement.
Because we're supposed to be partners and we're
Right.
clearly not.
Exactly right. We're told what to do.
Where's the map?
Wonder how we can find out.
I see it at the table with no voice.
Well,
Yeah, that's
we
right.
have to- I'm not sure.
Randy, this is entirely off of what we're talking about, but this council needs to get our heads together and think about, another elephant in the room, data center. The rumor has it, is that Rocky Mount is proposing to, trying to sell the land that they have at Nashville Community College for the purpose of a data center. Data center, that's gonna be too close to Rocket, that's gonna be too close to Nashville, Red Oak, Dorothy's, and none of us have had a seat at the table in conversation about that data center. So we need to have a moratorium put up.
Yes, sir, Councilman Chadwick, we're actually working on getting that to the council. A moratorium to give us some time to draft the ordinance, do some research on it, and have something that will be fitting for Nashville.
And that's not,
As you know, the other two towns, Spring Oak and Dayton, already got what you choose out of the bill, so we're coming to Nashville
a
next.
data center is not something that Nashville wants.
And then the one in Tarboro giving us a read already.
They ain't got a ground.
It is a data center in Rocky Mount.
Already.
Already, people don't know it. I mean, I didn't know it until I was reading about the water. We were talking about.
It is their largest water user, it's their largest electrical user.
That's in Tarboro, isn't it? Or
No, this is Rocky Mount.
Rocky Mount.
Where's that? Where's
I
that?
don't know how, they were talking, they
Is
were
that the
some
one
of
that
those
came
complaining
to
about.
complain about when they were jacking up the,
Yes.
They were
Yes.
complaining about when they were proposing the water,
The
they were
electric-
complaining about they were the biggest water user.
Yeah.
They hadn't even been old.
I didn't even know what was on there.
The license,
Did you?
I didn't know.
that business park,
It's where?
that business park behind Crossville, where you get your license.
Oh,
Back in there.
Back on-
Robbie Davis's
Back
place.
on the side where the daggone, rail yard is. Back over there.
Any other,
He's the developer.
They developed it.
any other questions? If not, thank you for working on the budget. Thank you, citizen, council, for really looking at it and bringing up concerns we need to discuss. And, I appreciate your time, and if this is finished, I have a motion to adjourn.
So,
There's a
Second.
All in favor, let me know.